But if you're talking about for the actual, how would you say, the actual breed, then I would assume, it would come back, APBT. But that I do not know how that all works out. Joe, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Smooth Moreland is in the house. What's up, brother? Thanks for joining in. I think I'm going to stick with this one on Facebook. It looks like it's showing Facebook today. So we're going to go ahead and stick with that. And let's see here. So the topics of today, let me shut all this down. I got so much stuff up. Bam. Should have done this earlier. My bad, y'all. Also make sure that you guys are hitting that like button, especially on what's it called, YouTube. But yeah, so I don't know how that actually works specifically for the old family red nose. I'm not too sure. Somebody said good evening. I'm assuming they're from Facebook. It's not showing me who again. Thanks for joining in, and good evening to you too. Donna Whitaker is in the house, ready for the show. Can you set up a members thing like Raul does? Love this channel, like and share. You know what? I have to talk to him and see how he went about that. That would be a good idea. Said it's not coming through on YouTube. All right, so you guys on YouTube can't hear me? Let me know if you guys can hear me. Make a comment that you can hear me. You should be able to hear me. Let's see here. Who else is in here? Tuxedo Pit Bulls in here on YouTube. Cordell, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. We got Naheem Scott. What's up, bro? Thanks for joining in. Let me know if you guys can't hear me. Let's see. Tuxedo Pit Bulls. Actually, I think I might be able to check myself. Do I hear it? Microphone check. Yep, I can hear it. So you guys should be able to hear me. Okay, everybody's saying everything is okay. We got Montgomery's in the house. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in from Canada. Let's see. Big Bull, what's up? Okay, so everybody's saying it should be good right now. Yeah, we should be good. Loud and clear, loud and clear. I need you loud and clear. What's up, man? What's up, Damien? So today's topics were X out of that. And you know what? Let me just open up another Facebook real quick. And then actually, you know what? That might slow things down. So let's go ahead and get over to the group. And where are the topics? I forgot what today's topics were. Where are they? All right, so today's topics. The main topic is what's form follows function mean? What does function follow? Because everybody stops at form follows function. So what is it the function follows? The history of man and dog and how it governs your breedings regardless of what breed or whether it's 2021 or 2051. Steve Leduc said breeding for temperament. Next topic is what is fully functional. We'll kind of get into that with the whole form follows function and the history of man and dog. And then Jay Rivera said, let's talk about poop. Seriously, let's talk poop. Okay. So first, let's get into form follows function. Hold on just a second. Actually, not that one. Get into breeding for temperament. We'll go into that real quick. Let me see here. And okay, there we go. All right, so when it comes to breeding for temperament, one of the things people have to really look at, and I think becomes more and more difficult, Judix Zoo, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, said I'm loud and clear in the Philippines. Shout out to the Philippines. Brandon, yes, hit the like button. Thank you, Brandon. And then Damien or Donna Whitaker said, yes, Naheem, enjoy you on. Yeah, that was good. That was fun. Yesterday we did a live QB Kennels with Raul Fagundes, and he threw out different questions, and then we'd have to either take, no matter what, if it was your turn, you could take the right topic, or you could give the right answer, or you could give the wrong answer. But whatever answer you gave, you had to back it up. And then the other side had to, say the opposite and back it up. So that was funny yesterday. That was fun. And yeah, Naheem did a good job on that. Naheem was on my team, so he was backing me up, even on some of the crazy answers I gave, crazy incorrect answers that I chose to give. But when it comes to breeding for temperament, I think that is something lost. A lot of times in the bully community, what's up, bank statement, Kennel, salute back to you. In the bully community, everybody focuses on the show ring and conformation. And, when it comes to the written standard and what's supposed to be looked at. But one thing the show ring doesn't include is temperament. As long as the dog can walk around the ring without getting into a fight with other dogs and growling at judges, that's looked at an overall temperament. We know with the ABKC, we know when they do give a description of temperament, it is a zest for life, or one of the key words. Exuberant willingness to please is another key sentence in there. Oh, you remember my dingoes? Exactly. So, but what else do they speak on? Lack of dog aggression, lack of human aggression. And a lot of times that is ignored. The temperament part of the standard is very much ignored when we look at the bully community. They tend to just look at it as long as the dog is low driven and doesn't eat babies and gets along with other dogs, we're breeding for temperament. You'll see a lot of people in the community post that dogs has great temperament. Ask them why. And that's another thing that you should be asking breeders when you looking to get a dog from them. But when you ask them why, their reasoning has to do with the dog that's in front of them, not necessarily what they bred for. So that's what we're going to get into today. When it comes to temperament, you have to look at it. When you look at the dog's body, you don't just breed for an overall body, especially in the new breed, because and especially in American bullies, we've got things we got to look at like pasterns, head shape, mouth set, bite, ear set, muzzle, the chest, the bone, the rear, high rear, level rear, tail set, cowhocked or not. We've got to look at all these different things that are shoved down our throat, which is important in the American bully community. One of the things that is often left out of the bully community is true breeding for temperament. When you get certain breeds, the German Shepherd, there's kind of a generalized temperament. Not that all German Shepherds meet it, but there's an overall generalized temperament. Rottweiler, same thing. There's an overall generalized temperament. When you look at pit bulls, we know Amstaff is not supposed to be overly dog aggressive. We know a pit bull is actually supposed to be animal aggressive. These are all things. And so when you're breeding those dogs that have been here for 100+ years, it's easy to get the temperament. When we're dealing with a new breed, as we are dealing with the American bully, we took these working breeds, the working bulldogs, working guardian mastiffs, working bulldogs, plus we took the Amstaff. There's very little pit bull in the American bully. But we have Amstaff, which is also extremely capable working dog, show version of the pit bull, but extremely capable of work. And we bred them together. So we took all these driven dogs, these dogs that have certain drives, and we bred them together to come up with a dog that we call a companion breed. Now, initially, the ABKC in their original written standard did say that the dog should be agile, should be more of a companion, as in capable of doing things, keeping up with you. The UKC specifically says that the dog should be able to compete and perform in competition. So this takes a certain level of drive. The UKC, if you notice, they don't say anything about, and if somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but in their written standard, they don't say that the dog should be friendly with other dogs, as like the ABKC does say that it should be friendly with humans and strangers, but it doesn't say in the UKC that the dog should be friendly with other dogs. So when you put all this together and you're talking about breeding for temperament, people have to learn, just like when they say, okay, the dog should have mass, bone, automatically, without seeing the dog, you know what to kind of look for and breed for to get that. What's left, you have to be able to look at temperament the same way, just like body parts. Temperament is basically the personality of your dog, but temperament is made up of various drives. And each of those drives, and all dogs have the same drives. The difference between all breeds and all dogs is there's various thresholds that these drives are set at. Some of you have heard me comment before that is very much, if you've ever been in a recording studio, any rap artists or music artists out there, you get in a recording studio and you have this huge keyboard or not keyboard, but this huge mixer. And that mixer, the entire mixer is your dog's temperament. And then on that mixer, they have various tracks. Each of those tracks is your dog's drive. Drive. So the track 1 would be prey drive. Track 2 would be dominance drive. Track 3 would be rank drive. Track 4 would be purpose drive. Track 5 would be food drive. Track 6 would be sex drive. On and on, all the way across the mixer. And then in each of those drives is a level that goes up and down. You go all the way up to 10, you can go to 0, and then you can all go all the way to down, all the way down to negatives. So that's how those levels that you're going up and down represent the threshold of each of those tracks or drives that is on that mixer. And that's all your dog's temperament in, is one big mixer. We are losing in society as we try to create what we call companion breeds and designer breeds. And everybody knows, to me, the dog is it's not even to me, it's a fact. The dog is a companion species. So it doesn't make sense when registries say, oh, this is a companion class or a companion breed. If it has no purpose, then say non-purpose breed. But to say that this is a companion breed, like the Beagle is not a companion breed, makes no sense, because the whole species is a companion species, purpose-driven companion species. And we'll get a little deeper into that in a second. But we've got to learn to look at temperament and break temperament down into drives, and then break drives down into thresholds. The same way we break down the rear of a dog. We look at high rear, angulation, is it cowhawk, is it not? We look at all that when it comes to the rear. We do the same thing when it comes to the front. We need to look at temperament in the exact same manner. So when it comes to breeding for temperament, one of the best things you can do is start studying the drives that make up dogs as a species. Because again, all dogs have the same drives. There's just various levels to those drives. So when you're looking at temperament, you've got to be able to look at it in details. One of the things that my cousin and I do in our breedings is to keep it simple, we keep a scale of 1 to 5. And if a dog has a low prey drive, it's a predator. So there's got to be prey drive there. There's no such thing as 0. So that's going to be a 1. If a dog's got a higher prey drive, we know we want to, then let's say that one's at a 5. And we feel for this breed, according to their written standard, the breed should be right around a level 3. So let's break that down. When you look at zest for life, zest is a strong word. So a zest for life, this is something that is energetic, something that is playful. So what I'm going to look for? Play drive. If I can focus on a medium to high play drive, and that's another thing. When you're looking at temperament, if you don't break it down in numbers, to break down those numbers, what they really represent is low to medium. And this is the way I've always broken it down over the years so that I get what I'm looking at. But if you go low to medium, medium to high, and high, those are your 5 levels, and those are your thresholds. So for example, let's say I have a dog who loves to play, can't wait to play. It wakes you up wanting to play, wants to go outside. You know that now that could possibly be mixed a little bit with purpose drive. But when purpose drive is also going to be more focused, if I want to train it to do something, it's willing to learn that and do it. Playful, when some dogs don't have a low purpose drive, but a high play drive. So they don't want to do necessarily what you're telling them to do unless it's fun. Unless it's fun to them. So let's say you got a dog that's a 5 with play drive. That will usually cover your zest for life. When they say exuberant willingness to please, you can't please something unless you fulfill its purpose. So we know automatically, according to the ABKC and the UKC, we need to have a high play drive and we need to have a high purpose drive. As that dog matures, it evens out into something that we can control. And at the same time as that dog learns you and your vibe and what it is you're about, it becomes something that you can control. Now, let's say all of a sudden I get a female from someone. I got this male. He's got a high purpose drive, high play drive. He's everything that the ABKC describes, and zest for life and exuberant willingness to please. He gets along great with other dogs. You don't want him to be submissive, so you still want a certain level of dominance drive there. You don't need rank drive in 90% of the dogs that are breeds that are out there. We don't need something that's competing to be top dog, but there should be a little bit of dominance. That's he's willing to, at least that he's willing to not be dominated. So even if he's roughhousing with another dog at the dog park, he's always standing his ground. Just because that dog might be getting the best of him, he doesn't turn it into a fight, but he also doesn't give up. So he's perfect. Fits everything that ABKC is describing. But then let's say all of a sudden I have a female. And as she gets older, I start to tell that she's a little rank driven. So she wants to be top dog. Anything that happens, she wants to be the one that wins that. She's constantly testing the other dog. She's also dominance driven. She has certain sections of the couch where she don't want no other dog sitting there. She doesn't want me petting other dogs. She's dominant over her food bowl, because sometimes that's not necessarily food drive. It's just that it's dominance drive. This is what she looks at as her. So I know I don't want that according to the ABKC written standard. So I therefore, when I breed those, I have to look for that. Am I gonna breed these two dogs together? Or am I gonna look for another female that more complements him? Now, let's say when I take him to the dog park, he's constantly being submissive and cowering down to other dogs. She may have something in her that can help him with his temperament. So I want to be observant of that. So if she is at a level 4, or so let's say she's medium to high in dominance drive, whereas he's low or low to medium in dominance drive. We can balance this out through a breeding. I now need to make sure I pick that pup from that litter that rides medium. You see what I'm saying? How do you recognize that? You got a litter of 10 pups. How do you recognize that? The cool thing about temperament that is not the same, that is not the same as structure and conformation, is your interpretation is your interpretation. And the more you learn, the more you learn. So what I may score as a high prey drive today, I may come across other dogs within the breed or other dogs outside of the breed, and I may lower it. That's cool, because let's say I think this is a 5, but in 2 years, that's no longer a 5 to me. It's actually a 3. Then it doesn't matter whether I breed let me rephrase that. Let's say today I'm new to bullies. I throw the ball, he goes gun ho after the ball, and in my mind, that dog is a level 5, is a high prey drive. Come across another dog, and it doesn't go after it as hard, so I look at that dog as it's level 3, a medium in prey drive. The cool thing about temperament is the more I learn, is my interpretation. So the more I learn about temperament, I start to realize, you know what? He's not actually a 5, he's a 3. Well, guess what? That still just takes that other dog down to a 1, the more I learn about it. So it always equates as you're learning. It doesn't, the breeding tactic doesn't change, whereas conformation, you have to really learn what they're looking for if you haven't learned it. So as you learn, temperament kind of stays the same, because you're breeding 2 dogs to make an even number. So if this dog is a 5 and this dog is a 5, but then as I learn more about temperament, I realize, okay, this isn't high drive and this isn't high drive. These are actually medium drive, and this one's medium drive. Guess what? They're still both the same. It doesn't change, because it's my interpretation of 2 or multiple dogs. So and that's how you got to look at temperament. You want it to always be balanced out in your breed. If I have a dog that shows human aggression, then that means I want to breed that dog to a dog that is overly friendly with humans. I myself don't like dogs that are too overly friendly. but at the same time, I don't want there to be human aggression. So it has to be evened out. How do you go about recognizing this in your litter? You're trying to keep pups. In the process of breeding dogs that are multi-purpose, typically multi-purpose dogs are like a band dog. So you may have in a litter, you're breeding these dogs for work and performance. And in your litter, you notice these pups over here are extremely playful. And learn to separate your pups together so that you can see what they're really made of. If this pup thinks he's tough and he's always beating up on this pup over here, start putting him with the other pups that are beating up other pups in the litter so that you can truly see what it is you're made of. That's where you get to understand that threshold. So if I'm looking at band dogs, for example, most of them are either used for catch work when it comes to catching hogs, or they are used for protection and guardian type work. So your dogs that are extremely playful your pups that are in the litter and extremely playful tend to make better catch dogs. They've got high play drive, they got high prey drive. They like to play. They're good around other dogs. I don't have to worry about them getting along with other dogs in the middle of a hunt. They let go of a hog, and next thing you know, they're biting other dogs that are surrounding them. So you also are going to end have in that litter other dogs that are a little more offish with the pups, but are more into you as an individual that's whelping that litter. So those type of personality dogs are going to make better protection dogs. So you want to look at your breedings with bullies the same way. If you're listening right now and you breed American bullies, then we know we don't want human aggression. So you're going to want to make sure that your litter is still each dog in the litter should have an attachment to you because they're American bullies. They should want to get along with your kids, your wife, your husband, whoever comes out. Each of those pups should be interested and curious towards them, and including strangers, and be willing to play quickly, include with strangers. On the flip side, you also want to be looking at what else would you look for in a pup when you're looking for dog aggression. You're not going to notice dog aggression in pups. Just because a pup is aggressive with his litter mates doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be a dog aggressive pup. His litter mates just might get on his nerves because he's living with them. So you got to figure out how to balance these things out, and you balance them out by the threshold of the drives. So again, always look at it as 1 through 5. 1 being low, 2 being low to medium, 3 being medium, 4 being medium to high, and 5 being high. If I've got dogs that seem to show a lot of prey drive, and that's not necessarily what I want in my litter for whatever reasons, then I know I want to keep the pups that have a lower prey drive. You're going to want to test that with a small little flirt pole. You go into the cat section of most stores, and they have little flirt poles that you can play with kittens and cats and stuff with. Test your pups with that. If that's what you're looking for, then you're going to want the pups that are more outgoing. If a pup quits, he goes running after it for a little bit, and then he quits, then you know the threshold of his prey drive is low. Pup that keeps going, and next thing you know, you got to quit, then you know the threshold of that pup. You want to mark that as high. And you want to look at these things as you're raising the dogs, and as they get a year, 2 years, 3 years old, you're getting ready to breed them. And now you have an insight now on what it is you want to breed to. So just like if I have a dog that's got a small head, then I want to breed that dog to a dog that's got larger head. Well, same thing when it comes to temperament. All dogs have the same drives. All breeds have the same drives. We've been breeding them for 25,000 years with these drives. The only thing that changes from breed to breed and dog to dog, including in the same litter, is the threshold of each of those drives. So you want to balance that out. Just like I would breed, if I want a big head, then I breed a dog with a small head to a big head so that I could get larger heads in my program. Same thing when it comes to breeding for temperament. You need to know what it is, and the best way to breed for temperament is to know what you want. Read the breed standards. Read the breed standards. What is it you want from that breed standard, and then breed for it. The drives for it are already there. You just know that you want to work on the thresholds of those. Some dogs are going to be high. You breed that to a dog that's got a lower level of drive in that area. So the best thing I could say for the American bullies is we know that we want these dogs to not be human aggressive. And that's going to take you 1 to 2 years to get to know that. Another trick to it is you may get somebody that says, okay, hey, my dog's human aggressive. How old is it? You sold the dog to them 2 years to, let's say, a year and a half ago. Now all of a sudden it's showing human aggression. Well, are you not socializing it? Because this also plays a part in temperament. Everything in life is born, made, or chose. So it goes for the same thing with dogs. They're born a certain way, but then they're also made by the environment that we put them in. Dogs don't do too much choosing. That's more of a human thing. So when you come into dogs, 90% of what they are is either born or made. So you can take what is born as, dog was supposed to be friendly, but then you never the person you sold it to never socialized it. And now they're saying all of a sudden it's a year and a half and they decide they want to hit the dog park or they decide they want to hit the beach and the dog is showing some type of aggression. 90% of the time that's due to fear because they've never socialized the dog. So, and because it wouldn't be just fear is something that is in the dog. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. How's the rest of the litter? Are they operating the same way? If I get feedback from everybody I sold the litter to that the dogs are showing aggression when they take them out, then I know I need to do my very next breeding needs to go to a dog that is proven to be social when it comes to human and lack aggression in it. So breeding for temperament is the same way. You're just looking for cues, which are the drives, the triggers that initiate those drives, and then what are the thresholds in those drives. And again, I repeat, the 5 best ways to break down thresholds is low, low to medium, medium, medium to high, and high. Regardless of what it is you understand about temperament and understand about the drives that make up temperament and the thresholds that make up drives, the more you learn, the more drives you're able to include and the more you're able to understand those thresholds. But the breeding process doesn't change based off your learning. So again, like I said, if I learn this dog is a level 5, if this dog, in my opinion, is a level 5 in drive, and I want to breed it to this dog that's a level 3 in drive, but then I learned through my experience that, you know what, he's not really a 5, he's really a 3. Guess what? The dog that was a 3 just goes down to a 1. And now I'm breeding the exact same thing. And that's the luxury of temperament. Nothing changes as you learn other than you learn to include more and more drives. Again, when it comes to the breed standard, zest for life. What is that? That's a dog that's playful, that's energetic, alert. This is going to incorporate some prey drive, some play drive, exuberant willingness to please. Please and exuberant are the biggest 2 words in there. Exuberant willingness to please. That means a dog that's got purpose. When I want to go hiking, he wants to go hiking. When I want to go for a long walk, he's cool with the long walk. When I want to go for a short walk, we get home and he still may want to get out there, but he gets over it quickly. When I want to do some training, sit, stay, roll over, he's exuberantly willing to please. He is willing to take the time and try to figure out what it is that I'm teaching him. And he's willing to go ahead and that's what it is. He's willing to learn it. And it's exuberant. So he's energetic about doing it. If my dog don't want to learn, he's just a couch potato. All he's good for is watching Netflix with me. Then you're not breeding to the breed standard. A lot of these people who push the breed standard breed for the standard in the physical form of the dog, the conformation, but they don't breed for what the standard says when it comes to temperament. They just block that out. And your first thing they'll say, oh, my dog's a couch potato because he's a companion breed, or this is a companion breed. Well, there's no such thing as a companion breed because the entire species is a companion species. So there's really no such thing as a companion breed. And the written standard told you that the dog needed to have a exuberant willingness to please and a zest for life. That means it shouldn't be lazy. ABKC specifically says no dog aggression. So if you're breeding for ABKC written standard, then you want dogs that have low dominance drive and low fight drive. also need to have low rank drive. You don't want, you could take rank all the way to 0. You could take fight all the way to 0. Dominance, that's part of the culture of dogs. So you don't want it going all the way when there really is no 0, but you don't want dominance all the way at 1 to where your dog is submissive to other dogs. Because what happens, you get into the show ring. Let's say you're a show breeder. You get into the show ring and somebody's dog acts up, turns around and snaps at your dog. Your dog needs to have a little bit of dominance drive in them so that he's confident. That's where their confidence comes from. He doesn't need to be aggressive to that dog, but that dog didn't get to him. No fight broke out. He needs to be able to get over that and still perform in the show ring with you. Like I said, UKC doesn't mention that. So you want to, I don't think UKC mentions dog aggression. But these are the things you have to think about when you're breeding for temperament. So best question you can ask a breeder, when they say they breed for temperament, ask them, what drives are they breeding to get the temperament that they're talking about? Because again, temperament is made up of drives. You can't talk about breeding for temperament if you don't know what drives you're breeding. Just like I can't talk about breeding dogs with big heads if I don't know what a big head is. You know what I'm saying? If I can say I'm breeding dogs with big heads, but then you turn around, you come to my yard, and all my bullies have the shape of have the head of a greyhound. It sounded good on Facebook, but it wasn't the reality when you saw the dog or when you got the dog from me. Same thing with temperament. I can say I breed dogs with great temperament, but if I can't tell you what drives I'm breeding, what drives I'm manipulating, which is the key in the whole phrase that we came up with, drive the bully. If I can't tell you what drives I'm manipulating, then I'm not breeding for temperament. And that's pretty much that. Learn to break temperament down into drives. Learn to break drives down into thresholds. And learn to test the thresholds in your litters to decide which dogs you want to keep, which dogs you don't. Learn to test the thresholds. When you go to pick a dog, you show up to somebody's house. How did that dog respond to you when they came walking in the house? And these are the parents. How did they respond to you? You're about to get a pup from that litter. You know what I'm saying? Were they wagging their tails, excited to see you, or were they kind of offish and just kind of keeping an eye on you? You got to think about that when you're going to get a dog, because you're going to be breeding that dog from those 2 dogs that you watch. Also, again, ask breeders when they talk about temperament, when they talk about drive. Drive is a plural word. What drives are they talking about? Oh, my dog's driven. What do you mean? What drive are you talking about? When they say I breed for temperament, what drives are you manipulating to get temperament? If they can't speak on that, then they're not breeding for temperament. They're just breeding something in general that they see and it's never been tested, never been pressured to make sure that that's really what it is. Let's see here. The dingo comment. Okay, so I'm gonna explain the dingo comment. We'll go through the comments and then we will get into the next topic. So last night during the debates, the question I was asked is who had the best dogs, UK or Australia, and I chose Australia, and I had to back it up, and my backup was Australia. People in Australia, please don't hate me. It was just a joke. But my facts to back it up were because bullies are a paper-hung breed. In Australia, they have the opportunity to breed their bullies with dingoes to get better conformation and better instincts. So that's where that came from. Let's see. Tuxedo Pitbull said, I'm looking for the hyena bullies. Exactly. What else do we got here? Dion said, here, switched over to from Facebook. Okay, cool. Rhodes, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. The Dingoes was hilarious. Yeah, we were on one last night. People said soundboard, mixing board. Exactly. Let's see, man. It's winter. I don't want to play outside right now. You gotta get them out there. There's some fun games you can get out there a little bit. Solo said, have you ever dealt with strangles? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Explain that, Solo. I might know of it as something else. Eric Maxwell said, I think people need to realize that it's a lot easier to breed a well-established breed. Yes. Compared to a new breed. Exactly. Especially when we have breeders' visions going in all different directions. I agree with that 100%. You know, you can see a dog you like, but it may not have the temperament you like. You can have somebody that breeds the temperament you like, but then they don't have the look that you're looking for. Whereas in most breeds, this is kind of already somewhat established, somewhat consistent. So with this breed, yeah, it is different. These dogs vary in temperament. You got, like I said, you got the Amstaff, terrier mentality. You got the working bull, American bulldog, oldie bulldog. Those are working breeds, energetic, looking for a purpose. Then you've got the guardian, the mastiffs, the guardian breeds from Rottweiler, the Presa, the Cane Corso, Neapolitan that have been mixed. All these things have been mixing with this breed. On top of that, you throw in the English bulldog because everybody wanted the girth and short legs and bone and all that stuff. And the English bulldog has no purpose, a lack of intelligence, and now you're dealing with, you've got to figure out how to get the best out of this according to what the breed standard and the expectation of people in the community. Let's see. Dion said Elsa is very rank driven. She's top dog here out of my fort. There you go. And when you're able to see rank drive stand out a lot more. A lot of people get dominance drive and rank drive confused. They can be closely related, and they can look the same. They can mirror each other, but they're actually two different things. I can have a dog that's dominant over me, but doesn't care about being the leader of the pack. A rank-driven dog tends to want to be first. And the dog that wants to be around me is being dominant, but he may not care about his rank in the pack, and he don't care who's top dog until that top dog comes trying to get between him and me. So they're two different things. Rose said, well said, appreciate that. Let's see. Martin said, what's going on, fam? What's up, Martin? Thanks for joining in. Paige said, yeah, but if they're protection dogs, you don't want them to be good with strangers. Exactly. If it's for protection, that's what I have. And mine are attached to my family, yes, and good with us. But with other people, hell no. There you go. So now let's say with the American Bully, you want it to be protective. So Cardi Bull, for instance, one of the reasons that we liked her, same thing with Justice, with Lady Justice, is same thing with Mia XL also. Most of our females have a certain level of civil drive. And to explain that, civil drive is a dog's willingness to attack a human and actually establish contact in that attack. But it's the dog's willingness to make up that decision. So you can do protection training with a dog all day long. That's just an advanced game of tug of war. When it comes to, but a dog to actually be protective has to have a certain level of civil drive. Some dogs, like a beagle, has zero civil drive. Other dogs are going to have certain levels of civil drive. With the American Bully, you've taken these guardian breeds, you created this American Bully by mixing all these breeds together. And then, so the average person that looks at an American Bully doesn't just want the image of a dog that can protect, they want a dog that can protect. So if I wanted to be friendly with strangers, a low to medium or medium level of civil drive should be something I'm wanting. That means this is a dog that I can walk out on the street. It is cool with everybody, lets everybody pet them. It's fine. But then if you move aggressively towards me, the dog becomes alert to it and is willing to interact and actually make physical contact to prevent that. That's what we're looking for. A high civil drive dog is a dog that you can't take out in public unless you have done good training with that dog so that it can go out in public. But it isn't concerned with people petting it and things like that. I'm not a big strangers petting my dog. If they ask, then I'm cool with that. Cardi Bull, for instance, at home, she has a high level of civil drive. You cannot come in our yard or in our house without her getting you. Now, if you walk in with one of us or you go through the process of being invited, and dogs look at things in a process, step by step. Every little step we do is part of that process. So doorbell rings. I go to the door. I open the door. She comes out with me. I walk to the gate. As I'm approaching the gate, I'm saying, hey, what's up? Blah, blah, blah. I haven't seen you in a long time. I open the gate. That person comes in. She's perfectly fine. But let's say I were to approach the gate and I'm not saying anything. she's going to be looking at that person more alert. If they push that gate open and they come in, she's going to get them because they shouldn't have been in there. She's at least going to back them off. Now, if I make any type of cue, any sign, point at them, give any type of command towards that, then yeah, she will attack them at that point. Lady Justice is the same way. So that's what you got to look at when it comes to civil drive. Another thing with civil drive is the highest level of civil drive typically is a dog that if somebody is just sitting there reading a newspaper and that dog's been trained to attack, you could just point at that person and that dog will attack them. That's like the highest level of civil drive, along with a dog that there's just no way of introducing them to anybody. The only thing they're cool with is their family. But when it comes to trained civil drive, high civil drive, you can make that dog attack somebody that's not agitating that dog, you know, jumping up and down, getting them going, trying to trigger them. So that's what civil drive is. With a protection dog, you're going to want low to medium, meaning they'll at least bark at things that they're not certain about, or medium, meaning that they will actually engage, they will actually establish physical contact with a threat. Medium to high and high, where most people aren't looking for that in the American Bully. Let's see, Paige also said, but I left a message on the Q&A you guys did the other night about trying to get a Merle female. Hit me up, man, or somehow, how can I get a hold of you? You hit me up on YouTube. You can go on Facebook, Daryl Thrower. It's a picture of Cardi Bull as my profile page. You can also hit us up at Thrower Bullies on Instagram. Bad at checking the message, the comments on Facebook. I mean on YouTube. So hit me up either through Instagram or hit me up through Messenger on Facebook, and I'll be on the look for it. Let's see, and we actually just did our female Mia is off of Woodland, Merle male, and she's off of Woodland. She's looking good. So hit me up. We just did a breeding with that, so hopefully that takes, and I'll keep you informed. Just hit me up. Bully Bread Kennels is in here. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Inzarath, I hope I'm pronouncing that. Inzaratha. As someone owning first bully female, how do I know what temperament and drives of prospective studs are? The stud owners don't detail this in ads. You want to ask them, what drives, when you say temperament, what drives are you breeding for? And ask certain questions. Do you do flirt pole with the dog? If a person doesn't do the flirt pole with, the average person doing the flirt pole with the dog does it incorrectly. But at least if they're doing it and they're seeing something in their dog, playing fetch, they're seeing something with their dog. Are they taking their dog, you know, hunting hogs? When they play tug of war with the dog, what do they do? And see, unfortunately, in the bully community, a lot of these things aren't done with these dogs. So it's really hard to gauge a dog that somebody has made lazy that initially wouldn't have been. I always say that when it comes to dogs, from the age of birth, or well, not birth, but right around 8 weeks to about 6 to 12 months, all dogs are looking for a purpose. From around 8 weeks to 6 months. Between 6 months and 12 months, the dog starts to learn you either have a purpose, you're giving me a purpose, or you're not. And that's when they kind of settle into who they are based off of you and also based off of whatever breed they are. So when you want to talk to these breeders about the studs you're going to, ask them specifically, how's their prey drive? Are they protective? How do they get along with strangers? When you say they get along good with strangers, what do you mean by that? Where do you take them? You know, be careful of people that say, my dog gets along good with strangers. How? Every time family members come into my house, they're fine with them. Well, that's because the dog's picking up off your cues. How's the dog when it's on leash and you go into PetSmart, Tractor Supply, the beach, dog parks? Ask them these questions, and so that you can think of to yourself, okay, I know how a dog's supposed to act at the dog park. Do you take your dogs to dog parks? Let's say they say no. Okay. I know I want a dog that gets along with strangers and people. Do you take your dog out? Yeah, you know, they go to with me to the vet, blah, blah, blah. That's not really going out because the dog can form a sense of security with the going to the process of going to the vet. That it knows, okay, I'm gonna be cool because we're at the vet again. You know, so you need to ask questions. You can always hit me up if you're looking for a specific person and you need some questions to ask. Um, I can definitely give you a list of things to think about and look for. But based off your own dog experience, you know what it is you want to see in a dog. Therefore, you want to breed for that. So you want to make sure that those qualities exist. And some breeders, most breeders, have no idea when they're talking about temperament, even though they say they do. So you want to ask specific questions. You know, if you play fetch, is the dog eager? Does the dog bring the ball back just as fast as it did as it ran to go get it? Um, does it quit or do you quit? Do you do the flirt pole with the dog? Do you do the spring pole with the dog? Ask these various questions so you can get an idea of what it is you're getting from that breeder. But the best thing to do is just think of your dog experiences, the things that you like. And when I say experiences, I mean things you've seen on TV and things you've seen in real life, whatever the stories you've heard. Think of all those things and what temperament is what types of temperament are incorporated in those things that you saw, those things that you liked, and those things that you didn't like. And then try to get an understanding, learn more, start looking into drives so that you can start developing a mind state of what drives triggered those things that I like, what drives triggered those things that I don't like or don't want, and then go from there. Let's see. Uh, Rubbles Gaming said, "What drive would have to be high/low if I want very balanced, driven dogs willing to do protection work, weight pull, hunting, but are not dog aggressive and could live perfectly fine in a pack?" Okay, so if you want a dog for protection work, and not just if you're there's two different things. One is actual protection, the other is protection work, meaning bite pad and bite sleeve. That type of dog, you're going to want a medium to high or a high prey drive. You got to be careful with prey drive because you may not want a dog that goes after all neighbors' cats and guinea pigs and things like that. Although that's kind of what a dog is supposed to do, you're just supposed to keep it in control, whether it's by leash, fence, whatever it may be. So when it comes to protection work, you do want a certain medium to medium high, all the way to high prey drive. Um, as far as protection drive in a dog typically comes through also as part of a pack drive. So you want a high pack drive in a protection dog because that's a dog that wants to be with you and its family. If you want that dog to be social, then you want it to be lower in protection drive. When I say protection drive, really what I mean is defense drive. And you can watch that in pups. One pup has a toy, the other pup is trying to take it. Does he turn it into a tug of war match trying to keep it? Or does he actually try to smother that toy to prevent that other pup from getting it? And how far will he go to get it back from that pup? These are things we're looking at as protection drive. It can also be part of prey drive, but a puppy that turns his back to another pup to keep what's in his mouth is going to have certain, especially if it's a toy, is going to have a certain level of protection drive. So you want to be aware of these things that when when you're talking to other breeders about it, or when you're breeding for it. So in protection, the other thing you want to look for is a dog that would prefer to engage with you rather than its litter mates. Some pups, you can play with them, they start to get bored, then you put them down with their litter mates, and now it's back on again. Other pups, they're with their litter mates chilling, but when you grab them to play with them, all of a sudden they're more engaged than they are with their litter mates. Those tend to make more protective pups. Pack drive is, like I said, is another thing. How does that pup do away from the pack? Separate pups, put them away from the pack, and let them just chill. Don't engage with them. Let them just chill. Have the pack over there. What is their desire to get back to where the pack is, into the cage or kennel that you have the pack in? How strong is that desire? At what point do they give up on trying to get in there with them, or are they constantly running in circles looking for a way to get back in there? These are the things you want to be aware of. Weight pull is a purpose-driven sport. You're gonna want a high level of play drive, so that the dog wants to engage in what it is you want the dog to do. You're also going to want a high purpose drive. You also want a high prey drive so that you can entice the dog, especially when you first start getting to go. You about to go to the gym? All right. So when it comes to weight pool, those are the things you're going to want to be looking for. Hunting, bam, prey drive. You want prey drive to be out the window. You want play drive so that you can to be out the window so that you can. And when I say out the window, I mean to be high. You want play drive to also be high, so that the dog is easier to get out there and get in shape for preparation for hunting. You say, but are not dog aggressive. Dog aggression tends to be a dominance or rank issue. So as long as and you're going to want to have to watch your pack drive. So if a dog has a high pack drive, you want to make sure that you're socializing that dog so that he understands. Though you have a high pack drive to me and my family and the dogs at our home, you are socialized so that you understand that these dogs outside are still not part of our pack, but it's okay for you to go play with them and have a good time. So that's what you want to look for when your dog aggression typically comes down to fight drive is initiated by, you do have some dogs that just want to fight. Your pit bulls, your true pit bulls, for instance, have an extremely high fight drive. Has nothing to do with dominance, has nothing to do with rank. They just like to fight. Most other breeds outside of terriers have a high rank drive or dominance drive that causes them to want to fight. So, for instance, a dog that is rank driven can typically walk around other dogs and they will see by his tone. And as long as they're laid back and submissive, he's cool. The dog that is dominant driven is going to also show some of the same signs, but when engaging with other dogs, he's not going to want them to be in certain positions. Otherwise, it triggers a fight. But those will be the main drives you'd be looking for in those areas. Let's see. I guess seeing them in person would figure it out, but not from ads. It's difficult from ads. We have become a internet and picture and video dominated world. So if the picture and the video don't show what we're looking for, then we've got to be able to ask the right questions to get that out of the breeder who we're turning to. Let's see. Someone from Facebook said, would you not use a dog in your program if their only flaw was being cowhawk? Their only flaw is being cowhawk? Yeah, I'd still use it. As long as it's not too bad. But yeah, I would definitely use it. And if you got pups that show signs of cowhawk, one of the things that you can definitely do is start walking them on sand, and that will help correct it as they develop. Let's see. GJ, yes, TV. What's up, man? So I have 4 breeds of dogs and let them run 3 to 4 miles a day. New breeder here. That's great. That's great for them. You know what I mean? The more they run, especially together, it just tightens up their pack mentality and their bond, not only with themselves but also with you. Ashley Harris said, "Okay, what about a dog that loses interest easily and only wants what they want, certain toys or activities, or is a no-go, but she's bored?" When you get a dog that has this, what you're explaining is a lower purpose drive. A dog with a high prey drive switches from toy to toy as long as you're whatever toy you switch to, that's the toy it's going to switch to. What I would do, let's say, and I'm trying to imagine what you're talking about. If it loses interest easily, make sure when you notice the first signs that it's losing interest, you quit before the dog does. Okay. There's a theory out there, especially when dealing with, establishing dominance with dogs, that if you're playing tug of war with a dog, you have to make sure that you're the one that gets the toy from the dog, and then you stop. Otherwise, the dog thinks is dominant over you. That is not true. If I'm the dominant dog in the pack and I'm playing tug of war with another dog in the pack, and then all of a sudden it happens to get the toy from you, and I kind of go for it, but then the owner calls and I turn and I start facing that way, or I see a bird fly over and I face that way, that doesn't remove my dominance over the pack. So my point in saying that is you can stop the game, get the toy back and then let it go. You don't have to get the toy from the dog. And I had somebody I was working with in training. She was having issues with her dog, and one of her issues is she felt she had to. The dog would get the toy. She'd be ready to quit playing tug of war, but she, in her mind, was told, or in her, well, she was told in her ears, but in her mind, she's thinking, I've got to go back and I've got to get this toy from the dog. Otherwise, he's going to think he's dominant over me. And I was like, no, it's not how it works. If you want to, which all you got to do is, if he does get it from you and you're ready to quit, get it back, tug on it for 5 seconds, drop it, and go about your merry way. Let him have it. And that way it's established that I'm the one that calls the shots on the game. I don't have to get the toy from you to be the dominant person or the dominant figure in the pack. I call the shots. I stop the game. You're no longer playing tug of war because I'm not there to play it with you. I went on to do something else. So make sure that you're quitting before the dog quits. This is also a way you build drive in a dog. And time it. Get your time clock out. Most of us have one on our phone. Time it. Next time, you already know she's already doing this. Time. How long does it take for her to lose interest? And time it. Bam. As soon as she loses interest, stop the clock. Let's say it was 3 minutes. Okay. So now I know next time I'm playing tug of war with you, at about 2 minutes, I'm going to stop. And I'm going to put that toy up where you can't get it so that you maintain that drive, even though I stopped. So the next time we go to play tug of war, or whatever the game is that you're playing, the dog has a higher interest in playing that game with you. So if you got a dog that loses interest easily, make sure you quit before they quit. And then put that toy up. Make sure that the dog, in our household, we don't leave toys for our dogs. There are some toys we throw out for them so that they can go ahead, play, and do what they're doing by themselves. There are other toys that we interact with them. But we always put the toys up. If a dog is having a good time chewing on a nylabone or whatever it is, cool. But if I'm ready for that nylabone to be put up, when I notice you're no longer chewing on it, I'll go ahead and I'll put that nylabone up. Or I'll take it from you, say, okay, that's enough, and I'll put it up. Rarely do I take it from them unless it's like bedtime, because I just don't like them having chew toys or anything out unless, we're all awake and alert. So again, if the dog's losing interest, make sure that you stop the game first. Also, is the dog losing interest mentally, or is the dog losing interest because it loses interest as it gets tired? Start getting the dog in better shape, and then just start engaging more. So get hyped up when you're playing, and then quit first. Let's see. You said only wants what they want. So that's what I would do. Make sure those toys that they really want and don't want are all kept together and are out of reach. If you've got a dog that knows where toys are, then put those toys out of sight so that that dog never knows what toy I'm going to reach in and grab to play with. And it's just learns to just be into the engagement of it. Certain toys, certain activities, and that's the best way to go about it. But you can hit me up if try that. And if that doesn't work or you're still struggling with it, hit me up. But yeah, if a dog gets bored easily, loses interest easily, keep their toys out of their reach so that they don't get them until you're there. And then always make sure that you quit the game first. If you see the dog getting tired, you quit. If you see the dog starting to lose interest a little bit, you quit. And let's say it caught you off guard, it just turned and didn't want to do it no more. Get the dog to engage one more time, and then bam, you quit. Make sure that you're keeping yourself in the position to dictate when the game stops. And you'll notice that dog's drive starts to pick up a little more. What's up, Hotep? Thanks for joining in. Rose said, I'm bringing towards that old school look like the Chaos Kennel's watchdog. There you go. Eric says, simple way to spot a dominant dog is if you have multiple dogs, put out 3 of the same exact toys. And if one constantly wants and attempts to take all toys, no matter who's playing with them, exactly. That is going to be a dom. But it can also be part of that dog's rank drive, especially when they're young. Dominant dogs, as they mature, tend to be just don't dominate my thing. Dominant dogs, when they're young, rank and dominance are almost the same thing. But he's 100% right. And, you know, if you put out 3 of the same toys and that dog wants to go to the toys other dogs have when it could have played with the same toy that was in front of it, exactly what he's explaining is correct. That's showing that that dog tends to be a dominant dog. It wants to take from you, or it wants to prove its rank over that dog. And you just got to figure out which is which. Let's see. Yeah, I said he has a bully, Rottweiler, cattle dogs. Okay, there you go. And 1 pit bull, more like 4 breeds. I'll be only breeding bully and Rotties, learning all I can. For sure, keep tuning in. Also, join on Facebook, the Giant XL American Bully Breed Group. A lot of information in there. I try to keep something information or at least thought-provoking done 3 times a week, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. I have posts scheduled to post up. 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. There's always something engaging that we'll post along with the other people that post. And then we also have a guide section. If you go scroll to the top of the group, there's a guide section. You click on that button, and it just about everything you could think of, we've got information in there for you. It's just like an informational library on XLs, but also dogs in general. And it's got everything is broken down by topics. I think it's like 10 different topics, and you can kind of click when you're done with a topic, and then it keeps track of your progression and where you left off. So definitely check that out. It's a lot of good information in there. Let's see. Grow Logic 420 said, what would you consider the correct way to use a flirt pole with a dog is? All right. I got a video that I did where I was explaining that, but I'll go ahead and describe that now. A lot of times when it comes to the flirt pole, we see people whipping it around and various things like that. The true purpose of a flirt pole was to build muscle and build agility, stamina, speed, all at the same time. So what I would suggest is you get a 10-foot flirt pole. I always make it's outside, but I always make my flirt pole out of PVC pipe. Run a string through it, and I don't even have one around. And actually, this is the rope to it, but because I got to redo it. So I'll do a breakdown later, but run a string through it. Use clips like these right here that you can attach certain toys to. And so you want to run the string through the rope. And as you see this one, that's my phone charger. As you see, it's strong. You know what I mean? Dog's not breaking that. PVC pipe, what it does is it gives, when the dog does get a hold of it, it bends so that it's not gonna, injure their teeth or anything. And where are I don't have one around me. Let me see. Hold on real quick. Let me find it so I can give you a little more detail into what you want to do. Hold on just a second and see if I have one in this little storage area. Then I can't even see in here. It's so dark. And it doesn't look like I have one. Hold on. Give me a second, you guys, so that way I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. And I just saw one the other day, and now I can't find one. All right, so what you want to do is you can go ahead and use this one. And there's not one on there. What's up, Sadie girl? Why is everything missing while I'm live? You know what? I'm going to probably have to do a live where I explain it. Because if I'm not looking for what I'm looking for, and everything's right where it's at. And I got to redo my flirt pole. So where are my... She thinks she do it. Damn. Okay, here we go. Bam. Here's broken, but it'll work. All right, so let me get my phone charger back in here. All right, so what you want to do when it comes to the flirt pole is you got your PVC pipe. PVC pipe should be 10 feet long. A lot of them are only 5 feet. Uh, Most people's flirt poles are only 5 feet. You want a 10-foot long one so that your dog can run long circles. Okay. You take these bungee cords right here. They got this little knot at it. This one's broken, but it has this little ball at it. You can get them at any hardware store. And you tie the rope to the cord, and then you run the rope all the way through the PVC pipe. What that's going to do is it's going to give you a ball at the end that stops at the PVC pipe and stops the rope from going all the way through. It's tied to this part right here, and then this is bungee. So this gives you a little give also. So the flex of the pipe, also this gives you give. On the other end, you want one of these to the opposite end where the string's coming out. You want this tied to it. You want your rope tied to it. So just like this, where it's tied to this. And then you can get these, the long ones. They're the same thing. This one's broke. So this one was actually about that long, actually. But you want it, there's longer ones you can get. And you want to attach this to it. Now you can start putting your toys on, however you want to put them on. And that way when the dog gets it, and your toys should all have these attached to them. So I'm big on these. They should all have these attached to them. My bad. So this is tied to the rope. I said that backwards. This is attached to the rope coming out the PVC pipe. And then your toys are attached to this. And then that ball, all you got to do is sit it in here. And that ball won't come through. It can go after the lure, which is. And then it also gives you the ability to switch toys. So the purpose and all that. 10-foot flirt pole gives you the ability to make the dog run in circles. That's what you want the dog to do, is run in circles. The lures have another one that the dog can easily go after. So what you're doing, and it also helps you build the drive in the dog. So the first thing I do is I have one of these attached to a wiffle ball. The reason I use a wiffle ball is it's harder for the dog to grab, easier for me to control. And I'm trying to learn the dog's timing so that I can keep that ball just in front of that dog as I'm spinning in a circle. So you got the 10-foot flirt pole, you're spinning the circle. Next thing you need to know is your dog right foot or left foot? If your dog, when your dog's laying down, call it to you. And out of 5 times, 9, most likely it's going to start with the same foot each and every time. So let's say your dog starts with the right foot each and every time. That means your dog is right-footed. So when you start spinning your flirt pole clockwise, then the dog is more comfortable pivoting on that right foot, and will chase them in circles, and will do a complete circle. Now, you do that a couple times. As soon as you feel yourself getting busy, go the opposite direction. When you lift it up to go over the dog, it's going to jump. That's where you're getting building a little bit of agility, a little bit of muscle, because now you're about to switch and go the opposite direction. When you go that opposite direction, which is counterclockwise, a right-footed dog is not as comfortable pivoting and running in a circle with his left foot on the inside of that circle as the pivot foot. You'll notice the dog will try to cut the lure off more, will jump, you'll get more action, which is what everybody's whipping it around for. And that way you're getting the best of both worlds just by going in a complete circle. And that's why you want a 5-foot pole, a 10-foot pole, so that it's a wide circle that the dog is running. And you just want to learn your dog's timing. The more you do it, the better you'll get, the closer you'll be able to get the lure to the dog without the dog getting it. And if you work it that way, not only will your dog be in better shape, you'll get the muscle for when you go the opposite direction that the dog prefers to go, and you'll get the stamina and the lean muscle from going the direction that the dog wants to go. The purpose in the flirt pole is to work it like a cat meal for all those guys that will work, or what they call with horses, a ginny. So that's the whole purpose in the flirt pose, getting that dog just to run in circles in a small area for those guys who were trying to work dogs out in the past and didn't have a lot of tools to do it. So that's how you wanna work it. Let's see. Otep said, yes, I do have a video on it. I'll try to find that if I can. I want to say it is in the Giant XL American Bully group. It might be on YouTube. I probably need to put it on there. No problem, Rebels. Thanks for joining in. Let's see, Jeremiah. Yes, you finally caught a live. What's up, man? Thanks for getting in here. Let's see. Yes, said everything is good. Cool. Can you elaborate what dual sire means? Dual sire means I've got a female and I've got two promising males. So I'm going to breed both of them to her. So you breed both those males to her while she's in heat and ready to breed. The pups come out. You're never going to get pups that are half one male, half the other male. The chromosomes and genetics don't work that way. Some of those pups will come from one male. Some of those pups will come from the other male. So if there's no drastic difference in those males, then she wants to play with the flirt pole because she saw me going over there. Sadie, get down from there, girl. Cut it out. That's what she saw me digging for the flirt pole, and now she's excited. So you one pup in a litter cannot come from both of those males. Each pup, though they'll come from the same mom, they'll come from the two different males that you use. So that's what a dual sire is. If you use males that are similar, then you're going to need to get them DNA tested, each of the pups DNA tested, so that you know which male it came from. But that is what a dual sire breeding is. It's usually a breeder that has a female. They typically, when I was young, breeders would do that because it was going to be that female's last breeding, and they like both those males, and so therefore they bred both of those males to that female, and then they'd have pups that were off of that female, but off of each of the sires. Never will the pups in a dual sire breeding be from the two males. It's going to be one male or the other. You just have to know which one by the color, by some type of phenotypical trait, or by DNA test. My bad. Let's see. I don't think bullies are just meant to sit on the couch. I take my dog to the local park almost daily, and she plays with other dogs and socialize. She has some protective drive and prey drive too. See, that's perfect. And I agree with you 100%. I don't think any dog is actually just made or should be made to just sit on the couch. And those dogs that are tend to be less healthy, less intelligent. One thing I always say to people is it's funny how working breeds maintain their health for so long. Something about that breeding the best performing dog to the best performing dog just eliminates a lot of health issues. Then all of a sudden we get into designer breeds in the show ring, and over the last 200 years, there's like 400 new diseases with dogs that weren't there before. That means you figure the show ring and that type style of breeding without performance being a factor has been around, 200 years? So that means every year a new two diseases was being formed just by breeding in that format. But yet the working dog world, they're not health testing, they're not hip testing. And people say, oh, I know a working dog breeder and he does hip testing. Most of them don't. I deal with hunters on a regular basis, and they're not doing any type of testing, health testing, hip testing, none of that with their dogs. And they're not having issues with their dogs, and they're selling their dogs to people who are hunting them and working them. So there's something about sticking to the origination of the dog, which we'll get to tonight, that just keeps them healthy, keeping that purpose and breeding them for that purpose. It keeps them healthy. When we deviate from it, the dogs get less healthy, less intelligent, and then we need more technology to figure them out as far as health testing, DNA, and all that stuff. Tuxedo said, how can you fix stilted back legs? And I'm assuming you're talking about stiff stifles, basically straight legs. Stiff stifles, though it's not what we want, is a dominant trait in dogs. So if you breed a dog with stiff stifles to a dog that's got good angulation, the majority of your litter is more than likely going to come out with stiff stifles. Now, let's say you only have 4 pups and they all come out with good angulation. Well, if you do that breeding again, chances are the pups with the stiff stifles are going to start showing up because it's just a continuous breeding. So the majority, that means, so when a dominant trait, then with it being a dominant trait, you got to breed it out. That means taking it to a female or taking that dog to another dog that doesn't have it. You then pick the pups that don't have it and breed those to more dogs that don't have it. You're going to want to get as far away from it as possible. And it is something that plagues mastiffs, bullies, bulldogs, especially the English bulldog and other breeds. Now, to help with it, you got the dog with stiff stifles. What can you do? You want to work those back legs out. Excuse me. The more you build up the rear legs of that dog, the more muscle builds up, the more that muscle causes it to contract, that leg to contract. So it's just like a buff dude. When the rest of us are clapping like this, he has to clap like this. Well, what his muscles cause his legs, his arms, chest muscles, arm muscles, they cause him to have a clap off a bend, whereas we can all clap just like this if we want. So the more muscle you build, the more it will cause that leg to kind of contract up a little bit, giving it, I'm kind of backwards, I guess, but giving it more angulation. So the leg is supposed to come down, out, back down. You build the muscles in that top part, it will constrict that part a little bit more, giving you a little more angulation. What exercises can you do? Playing on sand. When you play fetch, throw the ball up, straight up, so that the dog is looking up and kind of squatted with its rear a little lower. And then 9 times out of 10, they're going to either jump up or the ball hits the ground and they've got to push off to go after it. Also taking the ball. This is one of the best balls. This one is the large one, or is it extra large? I don't remember, but there's a medium size. This is the large one. Get the medium size chuck it ball. Bounces great. You want to, if you bounce it straight down, just in front of the dog, bam, the dog kind of squats, pushes back up, and then it has to go after it. Bouncing the ball off of walls, all types of agility things. Get the dog's rear is its engine. The front helps pull and everything, but it's more for direction. So the dog's rear is its engine. So the more you do working that rear, the more muscle it builds in that rear. You'll start to get a little bit of angulation. Hopefully it's noticeable, but it is not going to be that noticeable. It's not much you can do about it. But specific exercise will help. Dual sires when the female in sex, or AI with 2 males. Exactly. Dual sire equals need to go on Maury to find the right papa. Exactly. Let's see. I forgot to warn you guys, like clockwork, every time at 1 hour and 20 minutes, it kicks me out. But if she's Tuxedo, if she's still a year old, then her growth plates are still forming. So be careful. Don't overwork her. Don't do too much. What I would try to do is find places where you've got sand, mud, long grass. Walk her, in those areas to help her build the muscles in her back legs. Games of fetch are cool. Just do them for short periods because, like I said, she's still growing those growth plates. So again, throwing the ball up, bouncing the ball, bouncing it off of walls. Just again, take it easy because she, like you said, she's only a year old. It usually takes about 12 to 16 months, 12 to 18 months for those growth plates to get all the way together. When I'm talking about growth plates, is the dogs have bones, and as puppies, they're made to be distant from each other so that the puppy falls or whatever, it doesn't injure itself. But as the dog gets older, those bones grow together. as it's growing, typically not a lot of times lack of confirmation issues are because of things the dog did as it was growing and things grow off. So, be careful. Don't push the dog too hard. Kings of Bully Excellence said, not to put you on the spot, but during last night's live, you mentioned choosing a cathedral chest over a narrow chest. Can you elaborate? That was a joke. Okay. Last night we had to give wrong and right answers. So I feel as though the narrow would have been the same benefit. If I was able to give the correct answer last night, then I would have said the narrow chest was better, especially for the American Bully. So I'm glad you did. I'm gonna have to talk to Raul. We might have to figure something out with that whole game. But no, I was giving the wrong answer and then having to back up that wrong answer. So no, you do not want the cathedral chest if you can avoid it. You're better off with just a narrow chest. A cathedral chest is way too narrow. So yeah, ignore my answers from last night. That was all fun and games. And we were supposed to have time at the end to kind of give our true opinions, and we ran out of time and didn't get to do that. What's up, James? Thanks for joining in. Eric said, when dealing with dogs that seem uninterested or lazy, that's when you have to understand that there are triggers for each drive. Bam. A dog might work for a piece of kibble, but it might turn up for a steak. Exactly. And they've got certain toys. Matter of fact, back to the flirt pole. One of the reasons I like to use different lures, I used the wiffle ball in the beginning because that's what the dog's into the game at that point. As I notice the dog tire out, I will then switch from the wiffle ball to the dog's favorite bite toy, which is usually, it could be a sock, whatever it is, something that is actually more grabbable, that it's used to holding on, playing tug of war with. Then that picks up the dog's energy, builds back up its drive. When I'm ready to quit, I take everything off and I use no lure. It's just the flirt pole hanging out with nothing attached to it. And I do about 2 to 3 circles. The reason I do that is I want to build the purpose drive in the dog, getting the dog to understand that, okay, now there's no lure, but I still want to play this game. So therefore, I want you to do it also. And you want to get to the point when you're working that flirt pole that you can get that dog to chase that pole even when there's nothing there to be chased. And that is your goal with a flirt pole, because the dog needs to learn to love and enjoy what it is you want to do, regardless of a lure, and love and learn to work out. Love to love to work out and condition itself. And so always go from the wiffle ball, which is easier to control, and lighter and easier to control. Dog starts to get a little tired out, switch from the wiffle ball to whatever rag, whatever it is you want to use. And then when you notice the dog starting to get tired again, that's going to build his drive. When you notice the dog starts to get tired again, take the rag off. Don't have anything. The other thing I like about the PVC pipe is I can pull the string all the way so that everything is all the way to the top. And now there's no string, no lure, and I'm just working you just because this is what I want you to do. And you'll get to the point where the dog stops even looking at the pole and just runs in circles behind the pole. And then bam, you quit the game, let the dog get some water. But yeah, very good point, Eric. Let's see. Rashad said, the best dog info over here. I've been doing this a long time, but I always remain a student. We all are students forever. Even our dogs teach us when the humans stop. I definitely picked up some tips and tricks from Daryl over the last year or so. Thank you. And I appreciate you for tuning in, man. Let's see here. How many dogs do I own? I only have 2 dogs here at my home. I'll be moving next year and taking on probably about another 4 more. Our kennel altogether, we have a total of 6 dogs. So right now, 5 are with as far as our program, 5 are with my cousin. 1 is here with me. I'll be moving to a property out of state, leaving California. I'm going to be there for about 5 to 7 years, which is the amount of time I think it's going to take for us to get our bloodline going in the bully game. And we have a property out there in Arkansas. It's like 2.5, 3 acres. So we're mapping that out right now. Huge barn. I'll be able to set up a kennel and everything there. The barn will be able to, well, the barn is built for 6 horses, so it'll actually be able to hold 12 dogs. And then I'm going to attach another kennel to that. And that will probably hold another 5 to 7 dogs, which is what we'll need to keep what we want to keep and get our bloodline going. So I'm about to put in 5 to 7 years in Arkansas just to get the bloodline going. Move back to California, and we'll go from there. But yeah, so I got one here, one dog waiting for me, and then my cousin has 5 that are with him. So right now we have a total of 7 dogs. We're getting another dog that the breeding goes down in January. We'll be getting a pup off of that, and then I'll be grabbing all of them. And we just did a breeding yesterday and today with Mia. Cardi Bull will be going into heat next month. That'll be a breeding, and then Justice will be breeding her next month or the month after, although she might be going into heat sooner due to Mia. So I'll probably be headed to Arkansas with about 6, 7 puppies. We'll see. Anthony said, would you like, now as far as I've owned, I've had up to 5, 6 dogs at a time. Anthony Turner said, would you like to do more live showing of the things you would like you to do more live showing of the things you be talking about? You know what? I can do a live showing the flirt poll, and I would be able to bring it in here, but I forgot the cord broke on it, got tangled, and I didn't realize it was and snatched it too hard, and the piece of metal cut the cord, so I got to redo it. But I'll start doing live showing how to make the flirt pole. I'll do another one showing how to work it, and I'll start definitely doing that, especially when it comes to the conditioning and working the dog out. Donna said, my girl will go for walks with my son. He can't even get her to the door. She used to go with him. Only goes if I come, try treats, don't want to keep giving her them. Okay, so she will go for walks with your son, but she doesn't want to go for walks with you. I'm assuming based off that one, ask your son what he's doing that's so fun. And then 2, I'm assuming that you keep your leashes in the house. And so therefore, when you go to the door, you have the leash in hand and you go to the door, she's not interested on going for the walk with you. I would say move your leashes into a bin outside. So that way, when your son takes her for walks, he's getting her to go outside and then they're putting the leash on. And if you are doing the same thing, it's the exact same process and you're getting her to go. I would avoid doing the treats, maybe even grab a ball, toy that you know she likes to play with, put the leash on her, get her outside, start the walk and just put the toy in your pocket and then just go from there. Just make sure that when you go for your walk that you're praising her, having a good time. Don't be too hard on her about things. Build that bond with her for that walk. And then again, follow your son without him knowing. See what it is he's doing that's so much fun. Because normally a dog don't mind walking with anybody. Yeah, says, so being a breeder, you have to be heartless to where you have to get rid of dogs in your yard. That is no longer in your program. How would you go about that? You don't have to be heartless. You just have to be pragmatic and honest. Most bully breeders, unfortunately, are kennel blind, 90% of them. That goes for the show ring all the way down. If you're not recognizing temperament and you aren't breeding for various drives and manipulating those drives, and that's not a process in every single breed, and you're not seeing it, then you are kennel blind. You can have the perfect built conformation dog, but kennel is about the structure and form of the dog along with the dog's temperament. Those are the 2 things that make up a dog. 3 things make up a dog: temperament, ability, structure, and form. Structure and form are very closely tied to both temperament and ability is very closely tied to temperament and structure. So, and that's what they call, that's what pet homing is for as a breeder. If I've got a dog and I know this pup's not going to be good hunting, I've tried to do some scent training with him. He's just not into it. And he's going to go to a pet home where he's not going to be hunting. If you're into the breeding for the show ring, you got a pup that you know it doesn't have the right structure, then you want to pet home that pup. Make sure it doesn't go to somebody. It's going to be a pet no matter what, but you want to make sure that it goes to someone who's not interested in showing and just wants a good dog. So that's the way I would look at it. I wouldn't call it heartless. And then you also, as you're building your kennel, you want to make sure that you're keeping the best of the best to keep within your kennel. Once you reach consistency, you start line breeding, then you can start getting rid of of dogs more without worrying about it. And once you do your inbreeding, because you've gotten everything perfect, then you can be a little more free for all. Here's the other thing: a lot of breeders shoot themselves in the foot because they have a dog, they get rid of it, they sell it, and later on they're like, I should have kept that. Now with us, we don't do a lot of selling of dogs on social media. Actually, we have yet to sell a dog through social media. Everything has been word of mouth, from which started from people who knew us for dogs already. But when it comes to that, you know, you you want to be careful because the Facebook is like the show ring. Whatever you post, there's going to be that person looking to rip that dog up. So build your clientele off of social media by taking your dogs out, having business cards, talking with people, letting people know what you do. Train your dog. You stop your dog at a stoplight, the dog sits, listens to what you're doing. People are interested in that. King of Diamonds, as big as he is, cars will stop in traffic just to get a good look at him. Cardi Bull, Justice, Mia, they're not that big, but people are still turning their heads. So they may not make a U-turn for them, but they'll slow their car down and they'll talk and they'll ask us questions. This is a breed that stands out. It's a lot of wow factor to this breed. So engage with people, train your dog so that they look good and act good out in public. Have business cards on deck. Build yourself a platform in the street, also on Facebook, because the street is a platform. So make sure you're doing both. And in that way, you can start getting dogs out that way, especially dogs that you're not keeping or dogs that you don't necessarily want somebody posting on Facebook. But in general, people should be able to post your dogs and not worry about it. Let's see. Not heartless, just professional. Exactly. Let's see. Vast Tech. Not sure what that is. Eric said, when making your flirt pole, keep in mind the area you'll be working in. Remember, you'll have the length of the pole and the lure. Exactly. You know, we have a pretty large yard. So, you know, 10-foot flirt pole is what we use. If you, for whatever reasons, you don't have the room to do that, and you can do a 5-foot flirt pole, whatever, then you know that'll work. Just understand your dog's going to be running in tighter circles, so you're going to have to spin a little bit more. Let's see. When making flirt pole, keep in mind your area you'll be working in. You'll have the length of the pole, and you also want room for dog to maneuver. Exactly. Anthony Turner said, what percentage of breeders start their own bloodline from the foundation bottom to 6 generations? I would say very few. I think what happens in the bully game is people always say breed to the standard. Well, they like to say, fuck your vision, breed to the standard. All that shit is stupid. The truth is, these are people who are show breeders claiming that there's something that they really aren't. Now, there are some show breeders that are true, that believe in that wholeheartedly, and they believe in that, and it also takes place in their breedings. Their dogs look like the old school bullies. If you look at the bullies now, they're getting more bulldog traits. So you can't tell somebody, fuck your vision, breed to the standard, because you're all playing into some type of vision, even if that's the vision that happens to be winning trophies this year. So, but because of these preferences, what constantly happens in the bully game is people are constantly breeding to the next stud, the next hottest stud, the next dog they think could give them a little more mass, get them a little more bone. And they're never putting themselves in a position to create their own bloodline. What we have done is we have taken 1, 2, 3 dogs we knew were going to be foundation dogs. One more dog, Mia, might play a part in that. She's a Merle. So if we can get a non-Merle, all our non-Merle showing puppies will be tested. And as long as we get some that absolutely have no Merle gene, we will possibly work those into our breeding program. We will be getting one dog. She's about a year old now. When we move to Arkansas, we'll be picking her up. And then we have a breeding that takes place, I think, in January or February. I'll be getting a pup off of that. And that should be everything we need to get our bloodline going and started. But yeah, you're looking at an average bloodline. People have to remember, it is not a bloodline. You can't breed two dogs of the same bloodline and then say you're creating a bloodline. It doesn't work that way. You have to use scatterbred dogs, one bloodline, two scatterbred dogs, or two different bloodlines is the only way to create a true bloodline. And then you have to begin bringing those dogs all together. So now you got a litter of pups that has all the blood that you planned on using. Now and has brought it all together. Now, when you have that litter, you are now starting your bloodline. So if I've got 5 dogs that I think I need to start a bloodline, that bloodline does not start until all 5 of those dogs are somehow in the blood. And then you have to fine tune it at that point. You need to be line breeding to fix things, get things better, perfect things, and then inbreeding to lock it all in. So once the line breeding has got everything looking perfect, then you do an inbreeding to lock it in, and because now your bloodline is set. The line breeding not only helps you fix things, but helps tighten the blood. The inbreeding locks it in. Once that is locked, and that to get to that point takes the best breeders 5 generations. The average breeder takes 7 to 10 generations to get there. So there are very few bloodlines in the American bully due to the fact that people are breeding for, changing perspectives and changing visions and the latest trends. I know Jason Triline Lau, I think I'm pronouncing his name right. He has blue tri dogs, and he's got us his own bloodline. I don't know too many others. Razor's Edge is not a bloodline. Gotti Line is not a bloodline. Gray Line is a bloodline, but you talk to Tony Moore, they don't really consider their dogs bullies. So Razor's Edge is not a bloodline. Gotti's not a bloodline. I don't know of any bloodlines. And that's another thing. You'll see a lot of people, they go live and they talk about how they know the blood of these dogs. They're lying. What they know is how those dogs were bred 5 generations ago. 5 generations, we're talking what, like 3% of the dog that's actually standing in front of you. So don't fall for people who claim they have knowledge by knowing the blood of these dogs. They're lying. And 9 times out of 10 in the bully community, they might be been doing this for 10, 15 years, and for whatever reasons, they haven't started a bloodline because they're still outsourcing the studs and all kinds of other stuff. Why people in the bully game do that, I don't know. Why breeders have been breeding these dogs 10, 15 years, still have high rears, weak pasterns, and all these other issues in the dogs, I don't know. It doesn't have to be that way. And what they're doing is perpetuating these dogs to the new breeders, and they're selling them constantly to the new breeders. But so that's my perspective on the bully game when it comes to bloodlines. 862, what's up, man? Say, yo, Daryl, can you clarify your post today about the grass and the dog shit? Okay, hold on. I got to reread it so that I know exactly how I said it. And then I will get into that. And then we'll get on to the next topic. Grass and what did I say? Today was just one of those random days where I was noticing things and kind of making posts to comment on. Okay, so I said stop breeding for the image the grass causes. They eventually need their legs to stay above the poop. So the purpose of me saying that, most these dogs, when you go online and you look at these dogs, what are they doing? They're taking their pictures in grass. And then people will say, oh, they've got the perfect square in the front. When I talk about the square, the dog's standing. So the dog is standing. So from foot to chest, across to the next leg, back down, and the pocket should be a square. In the standard, it should be a square. The ABKC requires it to be a square also in the XL. I think they're going to end up changing that. The XL, because of the breeds used to create the breed, the size of the dog, the bone structure of the dog should not be a square in the front. it should be a wide rectangle. So it should be a little more leg ratio than what the pocket and the standard has. The standard should go from square to wide rectangle. The pocket should be a square. Standard should go from square to wide rectangle, and the XL should be a wide rectangle. And what happens is people are taking pictures in grass. Everybody says, look at that dog. He's got short, stocky legs, blah, blah, blah. But what they're forgetting is the grass is 2 to 3 inches long. And then we're breeding based off of these pictures, and we're preferring things based off of these pictures. So that is why I made that statement. People need to quit breeding to the image of what they see in the perfect Facebook picture. Let me see. We'll take a few more comments, and let's get to the next topic. What was it? Let's talk about shit. Seriously, let's talk about poop. Okay, when it comes, hold on. Did I share this? Let me see. And why is it not pulling up? All right, when it comes to poop in dogs, you want the poop of your dog to look like a healthy log. It should be coming out stuck together. There's breaking off. A lot of times that can be due to not dehydration. So like I said, you want it to be a healthy log that comes out. If you're noticing lots of mucus, for instance, then you know that that's an issue. So when you're looking at poop, let's say it's broken into chunks. A lot of times that is due to dehydration, meaning the dog needs more water or fluid in its food. Pour more water in the food. A lot of times that can also be due to a lack of fiber. Canned pumpkin will help you with that. So also lack of exercise is another thing. If you walk your dog, it pulls the right nutrients, it concentrates that poop, and it doesn't break off. But again, make sure the dog, if you're noticing the dog is pooping in chunks, they're little nuggets, make sure the dog's getting more water, make sure the dog's getting more exercise, get some canned pumpkin for the dog, and so they can get more fiber, and that'll usually fix that. Loose stool, diarrhea, typically is due to some type of illness. There's blood in there, there's typically some type of infection. So you want to be careful of that. Loose stool, a lot of times comes from inflammation somewhere inside the dog. Canned pumpkin can help with that. But also take a look at what have you been feeding the dog that threw it off? When you are having large amounts of poop, a lot of times it means the dog's not getting enough nutrients from the food that you're giving it. So it's just expelling out everything. That's why a lot of people feed raw. One thing you can help, if you feed kibble, pour water on the kibble, take some hot water, pour it on the kibble so it soaks into the kibble. A little pinch of black ground pepper to get those enzymes in the dog going. Mix that up, bam, and remember, a pinch. Don't have your dog sneezing because you done put too much pepper in there or made it spicy. Just a little pinch just to get the enzymes in the dog going, and your dog will start to pull more nutrients. The water softens it up, makes it more easy to absorb nutrients. What other type of poops are there? Trying to think. If you notice mucus in the poops, that can also be from infection. What I would do if I have diarrhea, mucus, anything like that, fast the dog for 24 hours. Okay. Don't feed the dog. Let it clean its system, get everything out of its system, and go from there. I think I'm naming the types of poops. What else? That's about all I could think of when it comes to dog shit. But be aware of that. And pay attention to those things. Always inspect your dog's poop on a daily basis, at least 2 to 3 times a week, so that you are aware of it being healthy. And again, remember, because gut health is the main thing that keeps your dog healthy for years. So again, it should be logs. You want logs. that are put together. It should be able to come out without breaking. If it breaks, again, you're looking at lack of exercise or dehydration. Um, what else? Dehydration or lack of fiber. If it's coming out and it's loose and it's mucusy or diarrhea, fast the dog for 24 hours so it can get his system cleaned out. I fast once a week, as I've said before, every Sunday. My dogs go the whole day without eating. But also start including water in your dog's food so that it can get more nutrients out of the, makes it easier to get more nutrients out of the food. Let's see here. I put, is it I put on or I Putin? I'm thinking I put on 100. Anyway, you ever have any dogs you couldn't bring to hunt due to not being able to work with the pack? Yes. My Floyd, great catch dog. Problem with Floyd is when it comes to hogs, he hits them and he turns it into a fight. He doesn't just lock on and keep them still. He's constantly shaking, turning it into a fight, causes the other dogs around to face more, the possibility of more injuries. Coyotes, bobcats, raccoons, perfect for Floyd because he gets to fight. That's what he loves to do. Taking Floyd out with other dogs. By the time Floyd hit, I would say about 8 months old, we were no longer able to have other dogs around him. He could hunt with my pack, my bull lurcher. I had a razor's edge female, a Jack Russell. That was my pack plus him. He was fine with them. All three were females plus him. Any dogs outside of that, yeah, they come with us. He might see something and focus on that. He might veer off and hit that dog also. So yeah, that's an issue. But Floyd was never meant to be dog friendly. His mom was old family red nose. His dad was his mom bred to a boxer. It was accidental breeding. I thought I could use it because it would give him a little more longer leg. Boxer was also great at protection, was an accidental breeding. They had puppies. One of those puppies was bred back to the mom, which was the old family red nose, and that's how we got Floyd. 5 weeks old, he was attacking his litter mates. 6 weeks old, I had to go pick him up because he started attacking his mom. So he was always dog aggressive. Brought him home. Jack Russell put him in check. They became best of friends after that, along with my bull lurcher. And he gets along with Cardi Bull, but he's old now. Floyd's like 14, 15 years old. So they get along. We just have to watch them because he still won't back down, even though he's old. And she's young, heavy, so she gets, can get the best of him now. And if she starts to get the best of him, he'll turn it into a fight because that's naturally him. Ra, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Let me see here. Oh, this must have been when I blanked out. Hour 20 minutes hour exactly. Okay, can my 7-month puppies play on the spring pole? Yes, but keep all 4 feet on the ground until they reach about 6 months. Until they reach about 12 months old. At that point, you want 2 feet on the ground, but you want the dog to be able to get it to the point where they can pull and get it down to the ground. You don't want them pulling out. Like, again, they're still connecting that growth tissue and those growth plates. So at 7 months old, I would say all the way to about a year. You don't want them hanging, especially dogs that are over 80 to 100 pounds. You don't want them hanging. 2 feet should always be on the ground. The spring pole with 2 feet on the ground is a great workout, but at 7 months old, I would start it off low, get them on it, and then bam, let them just pull. And you can do it they can do that at 7 months old. Keep all 4 feet on the ground until they're a year to a year and a half. There's another spring pole I used to make where I put a stake in the ground. I stick the pole. It's a 5-foot pole. You can do a 10-foot pole. You have the rope is now on top of the stake, and then the rope's at the top, and then the dogs can grab on that, and they pull and they bend and everything, and they can just work themselves out. So I can show you guys that method also, and I think I have a video on that also that's on Facebook. But yeah, 7 months old, keep all 4 feet on the ground. This go for all classes, 12 to 18 months for the growth plates. Exactly. Um, my Staffy 3 at 65 pounds. My Press is 9 months, 85 pounds. My Tri-Girl Bully is 13 weeks. We working dogs. There you go. Dom says, was that Bobby that said, I'm Christian, I got to take cathedral check? Yeah, that was Bobby. Yeah, that was Bobby that said he had to take the cathedral bill. We were just giving funny answers last night. But we got to figure it out because we can't have people listening to us and they're believing what we're saying. You're moving closer to where I am. Where are you at, Hotep? Yeah, I'm about to move to Arkansas, bro. Haven't figured out. We'll definitely be leaving by August. Trying to aim around April. Just waiting on my kids my oldest two to find apartments. My youngest one is either going to come with us or stay with my mom and dad. I kind of want him I want him to grow up in California, but we're leaving the choice up to him. But he's 19. So he'll probably finish school out here, move up north with my mom, my dad, my sister up to Northern California in the Bay Area. And then my oldest two are going to find apartments out here in Southern California. And so we're just waiting on them to do that. And then, yeah, we will be moving to Arkansas to get this bully thing going. And let's see. Anthony Turner said, I saw the Flirt polls show that the liver water and I saw the Flirt poll show the liver water and protection. Not sure what you meant by that. I think we talked about litter. I think you're saying you saw the liver water show where I talked about it. I think that's what you're saying. Gonna be neighbors. Hey, that's right. How far is Tennessee from Arkansas? And I'm in the woods. I'm gonna be in the woods when we move out there. I was surprised wifey was down with it. We'll be in Strong's, Arkansas. And this where we're moving is actually the house we used to hunt out of when we go deer hunting. And it's in, like I said, it's in the woods in Strong, Arkansas. We're actually about 5 to 10 minutes from where we actually hunt at. So yeah, we'll be in the sticks. Dom said you should make a exactly shirt. I I know I say that a lot. You know, me and a few of my homies say it a lot. Hotep said, if you have attachment issues with dogs as a breeder, you're going to start hoarding them. Bam. Being another dog at your kennel isn't the best life for them, especially without a staff. Very true. I have an issue with breeders that have more dogs than they can exercise and bond with. And, just letting dogs out isn't learning the dog. It isn't bonding with the dog. I just open the kennels and I let them out to run. That's not the same. And the average person that says that knows that. If you can't, put your dogs on leash and take them for walks, you're missing out on the true bonding of a dog, the socializing of a dog, getting it outside of your yard, away from your kennel. When you got 10, 15, 30, 40 dogs, it depends on you. Even when we moved to Arkansas, I'm willing to take 15 to 20 dogs. I work from home. I don't plan on having that many, but we'll be able to if we need to. But I also work from home, which is one of the reasons I'm moving. I'll be able to continue with my job and work from home. So it's nothing for me to take dogs out for a quick walk, see how they operate I won't be passing any people when we move out there, but I get to still see how they operate, and go play a game of fetch with them, see how they operate. If you don't have the time to, play fetch with dogs, take them, throw them in the car, take them to local places so that they can be in public where dogs are allowed, then you got too many dogs. And you're just breeding for money as far as I'm concerned, and not to actually better the breed, as people like to say, but then have too many dogs to actually do that. It's about the well-being. You might have a dog that doesn't have the structure you want, so then next thing you know, you're not breeding it and it's just stuck in a kennel, and you let it out every now and then with those dogs. But that dog might have something in its temperament or its mentality that's better than your other dogs, and you never got to learn that. And until breeders start treating temperament then structure, it's going to constantly be issue. You're going to constantly have issues. Either you're going to have dumb, lazy dogs, or you're going to have dogs that are overly aggressive. Can you lessen aggression with basic and advanced obedience training? Yes. Like I said earlier, everything is life. Everything in life is either born, made, or chose. With humans, the chose aspect is a huge aspect. But with most forms of life outside of humans, it was born. Everything that you see was born or made. From this bottle of water was made. I was born. I was also made and chose by environment. So the same thing with dogs. You only got three options: born, made, or chose. With your dogs, it's always born or made. Born by their genetics, made by their environment. So can you lessen aggression? Yes, you can work with a dog. If a dog is genetically aggressive, yes, you can work with it. You have game dogs that used to get along with other dogs until they were put in the pit. Not Mayday. What was his name? My mind just went blank. It's Black Dog. Matter of fact, he even got along with cats, but once he was in the pit, it was on. So yes, you can lessen aggression, but you've got to start socializing that dog. Now, let's say the dog is already a year, 2 years old. If it's still showing signs of aggression, I've worked with a lot of dogs like that, but I have people who hit me up because I do phone consultations for training, breeding, various other things, $50 a call. And, so I always tell people I'll talk to you for forever, but make sure you have what it is you want to discuss. The reason I started doing that is because I do free consultations for people who I've done training with. But when it comes to that, if you call me and you say I have an aggressive dog, can I do a phone consultation with you? I'm going to tell you no. I'm going to give you a little bit of advice, and then I'm going to tell you to see a breeder. I mean, a professional trainer. What I don't What I don't want to do is give you advice that I'm not present and somebody gets hurt. If I come to train your dog and I get hurt, I get bit, that's what I signed up for. What I don't want to do is give you advice over the phone and then all of a sudden you injure yourself because you misunderstood something or you weren't as experienced as I thought or you thought. That's something I would never do. So what I would advise, if you have a dog and you want to lower its aggression, there are things that you can do. That advice I give the basics for free, but at the same time you need to go to a professional trainer, somebody that is used to dealing with aggressive dogs. And the free advice that I give you is going to be: keep it on leash, keep it behind a fence, make sure it can't get out. If you walking the dog and you see it starting to act aggressive, how to, discipline the dog to get it to turn that or distract the dog from what it's being aggressive with, whether it's a treat, whatever triggers that dog. But those are the only kind of things I'll give you advice on, just the basics. I'm not going to give full-fledged advice on an aggressive dog unless I'm present and with you to take on that aspect with you. 9 times out of 10, if you got a dog that's human aggressive, I'm going to want you out of the area and let me deal with the dog on my own first. And then depending on that dog, then you can come back into the area. Like what I prefer to do with human aggressive dogs is get a leash on them. I'll grab the leash, work with the dog to the point where I can grab the leash, and then I'll walk them away from the home. So to deal with them on a deeper level. But yeah, get professional training is what I would say, because you don't want to. Here's the thing: you don't want to put yourself at risk of anything, and you also don't want to put somebody else at risk of anything because you're experimenting on what hopefully might work. Let's see. A62 said, I know the dogs are cool looking. I know I just can't seem to get on board with the Merle thing, but to each his own. You know what? I was not into Merle. I had no desire for Merle until I saw Woodland, and didn't even realize he was Merle until I read it and then looked at him again. He's got a fawn coat, or they call it lilac, whatever it is. He's got a fawn coat. I guess it would be considered lilac. He's a lilac Merle, but you can barely see the Merle on him. Just like in our female Mia, you can barely see the Merle on her. I love his build. There are things that need to be corrected, but overall, I love his build. So my hope in breeding that, we got a female off of him. My hope is that when I get to Arkansas, I'll be taking a non-Merle female, meaning non, it doesn't show Merle and there's no Merle genetics in her, so that we can get, a little bit of the mass. And I also like Woodland because he has drive. The female we got off of him, Mia, very driven dog. She's about a year old now. Maybe a year and a half. Very driven dog. I love that. We both love that in her. So that's kind of, the Merle is just another aspect of it. But, and if we do get a male that we like as a Merle, and, we might stud him out, but we don't plan on having actual Merle as a part of our program. Because I like the Merle dogs for pet homes. I don't like the Merle dogs for an actual breeding program. I don't know why somebody I breed Merle bullies and that's all you got on your yard. That doesn't make sense. And just enough non-Merle dogs to keep it going. That's not my thing. Let's see here. Now, here's the other thing when it comes to Merle. And it was funny, like Raul said, he was breeding dogs, selling them for a certain price. Somebody gets a pup for him, they breed it to a Merle, and now they're selling it for twice the price. So what did Raul say? You know what, then? I'm going to get into Merles too. And that is why a lot of non-Merle breeders ended up starting to breed Merles. Those who are against Merle, I have a problem when people treat these dogs, whether it's the standard, Merle, like it's some type of religion. I think if you do it right, you can do what you want as long as you do it right with respect for the breed type of the dog. ABKC knows that they register Merles. They are soon going to be having them in the show ring. So it's up to you, to each its own, to each his own. It's just about being responsible with it, doing it right, and making sure that when you get a Merle dog, it's not just based off the dog or you breed to one. It's not just based off of it being Merle. The dog has the complete package, everything that you're looking for, and has more to offer to your program than just Merle. And then that way you can get a non-Merle pup. So you got pups that show Merle, and then you got pups that don't show Merle. Pups that show Merle, we're selling. Might keep one, maybe two. The pups that don't show Merle, we're going to have those tested. And those that don't have the Merle gene, we'll keep. We can bring them into our program because we like what is offered by the Merle parent, Woodland, and the non-Merle mom, Tootsie, from Bay Boy Bullies. And Woodland is from, I forgot, Oscar Tamayo's kennel. I forgot the name of the kennel. Let me see here. Hotep said me either. You anti-Merle people. Let's see here. VWR Tech. What is that? I don't know. Somebody else. It might have been you. We said, is a breeding with a COI of 25% too high, and what can be expected? That is high. I don't get all into that. I just go by the traits of the dogs. I've done breedings, inbreedings, line breedings before. I think we should have a better understanding of it due to we have a breed that we know there was a lot of it in the past. Like, for instance, the dogs, to avoid all that, if you look at the pedigree of the dogs that we have, it's mostly scatterbred. There's very little inbreeding, line breeding, 2 times this, 10 times that, very little of that. We intentionally wanted to avoid that so that we could create our own from scratch. When it comes to the COI, you need to, 25% is kind of high. It's kind of high because now you're looking at that room for error. If I'm not mistaken, most people say it should be like right around 13 to 18%, if I'm not mistaken. And the COI is coefficient of inbreeding, for those that don't know. But yeah, Jacquees, I would say 25% is that's getting high. That's when you kind of want to breed out to a non-related dog. Unless you are creating a bloodline. If you got that point because you're creating a bloodline, then that's different. Rose said, I'm using a shorter male on my female to clean up them flaws. Be careful, sometimes the shorter males have more flaws, or the shorter dogs have more flaws. especially because of the compactness. They tend to have stiff stifles, weak pasterns, things like that. So be careful. And I'll be keeping a female to take to my male to line breed. There you go. Okay, great. Thank ya. Joshua said, can you lessen aggression with basic and advanced obedience training? So yeah, that's another thing like Joshua did. I think that was him that asked it the first time. You think I'm missing your question? Go ahead, retype, and I'll try to get to it. Take one more. And wait a minute, though, Joshua. Was it you that asked that originally? I don't want to skip it. Okay, somebody from Facebook did. So yes, you can lessen aggression with basic obedience training due to the fact that you're teaching the dog to listen to you. When it comes to behavioral training, you are more than likely going to need a trainer because behavior has to be tested by environment. So, and you don't want to be doing things on your own and getting your dog, someone else's dog, or someone else injured because of something that you're experimenting with. So, because you asked the question, I would say yes, but get a professional to assist you in doing that. If you're talking about human aggression and you want to lessen it, that's great. Get somebody, a professional trainer, to assist you with that. If you're talking about dog aggression, then again, you want to take your time with it, but you also want to get a professional trainer because, like I said, you don't want to make a mistake and get somebody or somebody's dog injured by your dog, or your dog get a hold of a dog it can't handle and then it gets injured. Let's see. Poop color. I think, did we go through that? Red, there's signs of blood. Green can be signs of infection. Black. What is black? Black, I forget. I haven't dealt with that in a while, and I forget what it was. But when it comes to poop, you just want brown. And anytime you see an issue with poop, fast the dog and then think about what it was you were doing previous to that. Hotep said, toothpick tested. There you go. See how firm it is. James said, can you talk about what if the poop comes out white, black, red, and gray color? Okay, so now I gotta remember this. If you always want it, to be brown, not to the point where it's getting overly brown. You want it to, if it's white, it typically is going to be because it's old or it's missing, there's nutrients missing. A lot of times the color is based off of nutrients. So as far as the colors, if you have, I would say light, even if it's darker, as long as it's brown, it tends to be healthy. If you see red in there, you want to beware because a lot of times that is related to blood, and there can be something with the intestines, intestines and the stomach. If you're seeing white, typically is due to something that the dog ate. It can be pasta. It can be rice. It can be worms. So that's why if you do see white, you want to check for worms. If it's black, I want to say, if you do see black, it can be related to blood. And again, that can be related to a trying to think of the word, gastrointestinal issues. So if you see black or you see red, you want to watch out for those. Green is usually grass. So it's not bad. The only thing about grass is it typically means the dog has an upset stomach. Doesn't mean the dog has worms, but it does typically mean that the dog has an upset stomach. Calcium can be of two things. One, white poop can be too much calcium. It can also be because if it's out and it turned white quicker than what poop would normally turn white, a lot of times that's lack of nutrients. Most times, if it's pooping white, then it's too much calcium in the dog's food. You need to look at what it is that you're feeding. What other colors? Brown, green, yellow's another one to watch for. If you're seeing yellow poop, that can be an issue with the pancreas, the liver. All those things in the dog are our bodies that are used to clean out the toxins. Yellow poop can mean that there's an issue with that. Thinking that's it. I think I covered them all. Let's see. Hotep said fur people fail to understand that having them in individual enclosures helps to keep track of their individual stools. That is very true. And that's why dogs being separate is a good thing, letting them out so that they bond, taking them for walks together. If you have multiple dogs and you can only take two at a time, just make sure you're switching the partners, often keeping that bond between them. But if you do have a kennel setup, that is one of the greatest things about a kennel setup is that what the poop you're looking at belongs to that dog. These high protein foods, when not needed for work or other reasons, and how fast the dog eats its food can affect the poop drastically. Yes, this breed is very much made off of image, and not just the image of the dog, but the image of the person who owns the dog. People love to say, I feed raw, I feed high protein. But if you're not doing nothing with your dog that requires high protein, then it makes no sense. The average dog, the average breed, their protein content needs to be around 18 to 23%. Does not need to be higher than 23%. Anything higher than that, you need to be making sure that you are exercising that dog on a regular basis. Understand, the reason high protein dog food was designed was for working dogs. You fed your dogs its regular food, and then when the performance time came, you started feeding the high protein food 1 to 2 weeks before the performance event. After the performance event, it went back to the regular dog food. That's why, for those of you around my age, if you remember, those regular high protein dog foods always came in small bags, and your regular dog food, 18 to 23%, came in large bags because you're using that to feed the dog. And when high protein dog food started, they were something that you added. You gave like 50-50. You started gradually switching your dog over to the high protein. So it started getting more and more. The performance event came. And then all of a sudden you got to where it was all the high protein about a few days to a week before the performance. You're conditioning the dog. The performance came. The performance is over. And then you gradually switch it off the high protein back onto the regular feed because now the dog is just doing his natural performance. 18 to 23%. If your dog's not hunting, racing, weight pull, you don't need to be feeding high protein dog foods because it's just not needed, and it's there just to make money off of you. TJ, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. You finally caught one exactly. Let's see. Hoteps, you in East Texas. Okay, so if you're in East Texas, yeah, then you are closer to Arkansas. So cool. We definitely need to catch up, dude. Rose said, I'm going to keep one of her sons also to inbreed back to her. Cool. Just make sure that the dogs are perfect. Also, remember, doing inbreeding from son to mother, even though that's the way Floyd was done, that's also partly why he's crazy. Doing inbreedings from son to mother, you want to make sure the dogs are perfection, exactly what you want in temperament, and you want to make sure the mother is doubly what you want because the males you get off of that breeding are going to have a lot of her genetics, an overabundance of her genetics. So make sure that make sure that you view the pup and that the pup has reached the age where he's fully mature and you know everything about him before you actually go and do a mother to son breeding. Don't start creating another dog first, or keep your eye on another one first. And then if he turns out to be everything you want, then go ahead and take him back to his mom to lock that in. All right, so we covered all the topics. Next topic. Actually, let me get through the comments and then we'll get through the final topic. And get rid of that. I don't know why I left that open. That's probably what was slowing me down. Let's see. Gonna have to come out to St. Louis if you're here by February for ABKC show. Is that where? Oh, they having a show out there? Seeing actually a few ABKC shows popping up. If you go, for those of you looking for shows, if you go to the Giant American Bully Breed group on Facebook, you go to that guide section. The very last topic of the guide section of the educational information is American Bully events. So I try to keep all the flyers and posts regarding events in that section. And they're all in there by date. I think they're out of order right now. So I do need to go through there and delete the old ones, but you'll also see upcoming events for bullies. You can always go and check that out. Can you go live to show the liver water method and some protection work? We're actually working with Cardi on protection work, so I can show a little bit of that. So I'll do that one day, and I'll do that soon. As far as the liver water, you're talking about making it, and I just had to make some about a couple weeks ago for Floyd's old butt. Yeah, I can definitely. I'll do a live show on that. I'll do that quickly also. So I will not forget. And matter of fact, let me write that down. That's actually a good idea. Liver water live. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll do that. Okay, so Strong's is just a few hours from you. All right, cool. Eric said, when trying to lessen aggression in a dog, the first thing and maybe the only thing you can teach depending on the dog and its level of aggression is avoidance. Emphasize, leave it. And that's a great point. A lot of times people look at socializing dogs as my dog has to be able to interact. To me, socializing a dog makes a dog capable of ignoring. I'm not a big dog park person. We do have a dog beach here in Huntington Beach, California, that is great, for dogs that are cool with it. We've had my bull Lurcher loved it. My Jack Russell didn't like all the dogs, but she was cool with it. But socializing is teaching a dog to ignore. And so when I was explaining it earlier and I was saying, yanking on the leash or using a distraction, a treat to distract. Well, that's what you want to do, is get the dog to learn to ignore the dog that is trying to be aggressive with, that it sees across the street. So you see the dog becoming alert to it, yank on the leash, turn the opposite way, learn to teach the dog to ignore it. If it won't lose intensity, then turn and walk the opposite way, or use a treat. There's various ways of doing it. But again, like Eric said, it is about dogs learning to ignore situations that will put them in a situation of aggression. So great point. Hotep said Tyron Diener of Bully Affiliated, creator of Hurricane Bloodlines, a master canine trainer and specialized in dealing with aggressive dogs. Yes, Tyron is very good with dogs. I think he's kind of retired from the bully community. I think it would be great if he was still involved. I first saw him through YouTube before I got into bullies and respected the work that he was doing and that he was capable of. He all of a sudden came onto Facebook, and the people in the comments, the silliness, the lack of taking him serious and giving him respect blew my mind, and really kind of let me know how I figured I'd approach the community. Because the education is needed, but you got a community that really doesn't want to be educated on beyond whatever their favorite breeder told them. But yeah, he also had some situations where some people ripped him off. I think we did cover the colors. So I know I'm behind. Yeah, so we covered the colors. I was there volunteering for several months at his feed store 24/7, and he did some shit. I recorded him taking 3 aggressive German Shepherds. He had all 3 of them chilling together, one of which bit me. Yeah, Tyron knows his shit, dude. The dude is good with it. 2-part question. When you start your own bloodline, how do you read or start the pedigree? And does it start with the grandparents? The bloodline, your bloodline starts with the dogs you planning on using in your bloodline. So let's start from scratch. I got 2 dogs. One of them has a little head, the other one has a big head. And I breed them together. And now I've got dogs with offspring with big heads. But I also need to fix underbite. So now I have a dog that I'm going to use to help me fix the underbite. I breed them to that. I've also got temperament issues I think need to be fixed. Dog's lazy, has no drive, or is hyper, not really driven, but it's just hyper. And so now I want to fix that. So I breed it to a dog that fixes that. So I'm taking all these unrelated dogs, and I'm getting it to a point where I'm fixing it. And then all of a sudden, the majority of these issues are fixed. And I have what I want as far as temperament. I'm where I want. Now there's some structural or maybe ability issues. But I have dogs in my yard now that can help fix those issues. So now I'm breeding 2 dogs in my yard that are offspring that are related to these dogs. And now we're starting the line breeding. And through the line breeding, I'm starting to get it. Everything is starting to perfect itself, slowly perfecting itself. Once I breed back in without breeding out, so once I've got all the dogs I want to use, and I'm no longer bringing anything in new to fix something, I'm now starting my first generation. That offering, that litter is the beginning of my first generation. And I can use them to breed back to other dogs that have blood in them, even though they're not of the same blood. So my pups have dog A in them, and I realize there's something he can use to fix. So I breed them back to dog A. Now I'm doing line breeding. Eventually, I'm fixing all these things, and then bam. Once they're fixed, I do an inbreeding. Once I do the inbreeding, I either need to do a distant line breeding or I need an outcross to a dog that's totally unrelated but has all the same value, the same traits that I want in my yard. And then after that outcross, I bring that back into the yard. And what are we at? 7:20. So within the next 20 minutes, it's going to kick me out again. And then I'll pop back on. But that's how your bloodline starts when you have everything you're using to create the bloodline in one. And then you start going and fixing and getting things tightened up. And that takes 5 to 10 generations. 5 for the best breeders, 7 to 10 for the 5 to 7 for the best breeders, 7 to 10 for the average breeder. And you have to create your own look and your own temperament within the breed, so that people can say that's a Rosset dog. You know what I mean? That they can recognize when people see that dog, they know it's an American Bully from Rosset. You know what I mean? If it's a pit bull, they know it's a pit bull from Rosset. The temperament is distinguished to your yard. It is not a bloodline until it has its own look and its own temperament. Okay. Now the ability could be the same as other dogs within the breed. Hopefully yours is just better at it than them. But you have to have your own look and your own temperament. Can't just be your own look. That's not a bloodline. It has to have your own look and your own temperament that's distinguishable from the other dogs in the breed. Rubbles said, is it possible for an APBT, American Pit Bull Terrier, to get along with other same-sex dogs? Yes, there are fighting dogs that have been able to accomplish that, but it's very rare, and the average APVT person, if they were looking for a game dog or a dog that keeps the true traits, they typically aren't going to want that. But it is possible. Not something most would do though. And typically when it's possible, it's a dog that is actually a game bred dog, a game dog, and he's around a younger male that he's not interested in fighting or whatever. But you're rarely going to come across that. Now, as far as American Pit Bull Terriers that come from game lines, but they're not game and lack dog aggression, yes, you can have that. That's how we got the Amstaff. Zachariah said black is blood. Yes. Black is bleeding from the yes. I think we went over that. White can also be bones. Yes. Blood or toxins. I didn't think about that. Black poop can be from toxins, not just blood. Zola, the American Bully, said, can we talk about pedigrees and how the grandparents can contribute to the pup? Some of the best breedings are granddaughter to grandfather. That is considered a line breeding. There are some that consider it an inbreeding. I have always learned and grew up with that was considered a close, what you call a close line breeding. Inbreeding, I look at as mother, son, daughter, father, brother, sister. Line breedings, when you get outside of that house family of dogs and you're looking at grandparents, close line breeding, grandparents, uncles, aunts, and then you get further and further steps out. As far as, you say, can we talk about, what is that light going on for? Can we talk about pedigrees and how the grandparents can contribute to the pup? So how can the grandparents contribute to the pup? Let's say the grandparent is this kind of goes back to the whole black hole theory of breeding. Let's say the grandparent is a dog you love and he's a male. Then hopefully he is the grandparent on the mother's side. If he's the grandparent on the father's side, you'll probably lose his genetics. So that's something you want to think about when it comes to who's the grandparent of a dog. You're so hyper. It's just sliding. I gotta cut her nails. But so that's something you want to think about when it comes to grandparents. Just always remember that the father gives most of his genetics to his female offspring. The genetics that he gives to his male offspring are more focused on making him a male than they are him actually getting the father's traits. Now, you have multiple pups in a litter. So that means the majority of the pups are going to be what I said. You will have some males that take after their father. It will just be only a few of them, if any. Those males are valuable due to the fact that it shows he was able to grab his father's genetics. Hopefully, he's also able to push them. Your females, 9 times out of 10, if they have their father's traits, they'll also push them to the next generation. As far as pedigrees, I think the most valuable part of a pedigree is in the first 4 generations. So if you look at it, the dog that's sitting in front of you is 50% his mother and 50% its father, as far as genetics go, especially if it's a female. So she's 50% mom, 50% dad. Grandparents, so mom and dad are 50%. Grandparents are 25%. Great grandparents are 12.5%. Great great grandparents are around 6%. And then you got beyond that, which the 5th generation, you're looking at like 3% of the dog that's actually sitting in front of you. So if a dog now, on the flip side of that, let's say a dog is in there more than once, that changes those percentages, So that's something you want to think about. So if a dog is 5 generations back in your pedigree and you love that dog, but he's 5 generations back in that pedigree, but in that 5th generation, let's say he's there on the mom's side and the dad's side, or twice on the dad's side. Well, that makes him more like a 4th generation dog. So think about your pedigree that way. The dogs that you love, where do they sit? And how do they sit there? So if I want something from a female, then I want a male off of her, because most of that male's genetic information comes from her. The rest of his genetic information is just a little bit from the dad, and then and more focus on making him a male. If I have a male that I like, then I want to get a female from him, because he's definitely giving her 50% of his genetic information. Whereas with a male, part of that 50% is just focused on making him a male rather than the actual traits of his dad. Black can also be from Victor food brand. That's not good. So hopefully it's not. A lot of high-end foods are too rich for most dog systems. Yes, my dogs start on good old puppy chow and then on the pedigree once older. No allergies or good poops. That's a good subject. I feed pedigree. I like Purina One. I like Pedigree. I like Puppy Chow. I like Pedigree. I like Dog Chow. I like Purina One. The reason I like them is because they're old foods. And a lot of times with all this designer breeding and show ring breeding, we have crippled the immune system of our dogs to where they can't digest the things that they used to be able to digest. So everybody jumps on raw, which means now all of a sudden we're not even putting these dogs in position to learn what allergies they have. I kind of have a rule. If it's an old breed, I don't want any allergy issues. If there's any signs of allergy issues, that dog will not get bred. If it's a new breed, such as the American Bully, where allergy issues have been a part of this breed, if that dog can't get through get over its allergy issues within a year and a half, it won't be bred. And that's kind of a rule my cousin and I came up with so that we're not dealing with allergy issues. Dogs should be able to eat regular pedigree without any issues. And if we're feeding them raw and all these things, what we're doing is we're masking this because most people aren't going to feed raw. So we're masking what dogs used to be. And then if we're masking these allergy issues, what else are we masking that has to do with the health and the immune system of the dog? So I'm glad you brought that up. Vaughn, brother to sister from different litters, is the same thing. So I breed this male and this female, and then she goes in the heat again. I breed the same two dogs. It's the same thing. It's the same genetics. It's the exact same thing. Always look at repeat breedings as a continuation breeding. So if I bred dog A to male A to female B, and they have 5 pups, and then a year later I breed male A to female B, and they have 5 pups, just look at it like that was a 10 pup litter, because it's all the same genetics. But genetics are random, so you're still going to get a little more variety. So, but breeding this dog to this dog and having 5 pups here, then a year later I breed them again, I have 5 pups there, is the same as if I had only bred them once and had 10 pups. I guess it would be the best way to look at it. Let's see here. Grim said, I take my dogs out straight to the sidewalk to the sidewalk. His poop is solid. If I walk him half a block and he goes, the poop turns soft, almost like diarrhea. Okay, hold on. I take my dog out straight to the sidewalk. His poop is solid. If I walk him half a block and he goes, the poop turns soft, almost like diarrhea. Is that normal? What's happening? Typically that happens with heavier dogs. And what is happening is he's walking now, and then so he poops on the sidewalk and it's solid, because that is well digested poop that he was ready to get rid of anyway. Then all of a sudden he starts walking, and then next thing you know, he poops and is loose. That is poop that he's missing out on nutrients from, but the walk is what generated him to cause him to poop. Typically with something like that is I would wait a longer time, feed them longer, or walk them longer after they have eaten. So maybe take them for a walk before he's eaten. A lot of times that also happens with dogs that tend to be heavier, because now they're walking, they're less firm, and the stomach and intestines is jiggling around, and it causes them to want to poop. A lot of times, if you let your dog out, sometimes you'll notice they have to go poop, but they walk first, get a little walk in quick, and then it helps them get their poop going. So what's happening is a lot of times what is too early. Am I back? Okay, I'm back. All right, so you're walking the dog too early after eating. Take the dog, start feeding the dog after your walks. Give it some time to chill, relax, and then feed it after. Or you got a dog that may be a little heavy. You'll notice that with some of those dogs, all of a sudden they start walking, and then they get that diarrhea poop, and it's loose because it hasn't been absorbed. What the dog needs from it hasn't been absorbed. So I would start walking the dog later, and possibly check on the dog's weight, see and look at the dog, see if it's a dog that's overweight. Can someone find Ty? I know he got out of dogs, but damn, an interview from him would be, you know what? That would be a good idea. And if I'm not mistaken, I might have a way to locate him. That would be a good interview. Hotep said dogs defecate for multiple reasons. Yeah, exactly. He's going through a lot right now. Okay. Okay. Cool. And if you have contact with him, Hotep, if he's going through things, don't worry about it. But if he seems good, then definitely let me know, because it would be cool to do an interview with him and just have a dog talk with him. Dom said, Dog Talk Tuesday, the reason I bred my classic to my pocket, specifically for temperament and drive first and foremost, not for looks at the moment. My pocket is my profile pic. I saw that. He's a good looking boy. I like his build. Let's go ahead and oh, hold on. Yes, black can also parvo. It is typically some type of infection issue virus going on with black poop, so you want to be aware of it. Specifically, prey drive, confidence, and active dogs, and can stand the Guam heat and humidity. I always forget you're in Guam. All right, so what was the last topic? Last topic was what form follows function means. What does function follow? The history of man and dog and how it governs your breeding regardless. So here we go. When I was young, probably about I was older, probably about 9, 10 years old, and was real into dogs, was looking into dogs and asking questions about dogs. And I remember a guy I was talking to about breeding, and he said, you always have to remember form follows function. And I thought that was the most brilliant thing. I came home and I told my dad that, and he just kind of got this funny look on his face, like, that's nothing. I had to break it down, and he was like, I get that. My dad studied architecture, and he was like, I get that. And he was like, but form follows function is something dog people always say, but the dog breeders always say, but the truth is that's an architecture term. So if you want to get into dogs the way you're acting, then you need to look beyond that. What does if form follows function? What is function following? So thought about it, couldn't come up with a solution. And I was in college and was missing class because there was a bookstore near me that always had these great dog books. I would go in there and read up on all kinds of dogs and stuff. I was just getting into training and thinking about breeding, and so it's probably like 18, 19 at the time. And but I had to get there all the time because if I didn't finish a book, I would hide that book somewhere. And then I go back to that bookstore, find that book, and then I finish reading it. But what after reading several books, what I ended up realizing was form follows function, and function follows purpose. When you look at the history of the breed or the species, it is a purpose-driven companion species. What does purpose follow? Purpose follows you, the breeder. Excuse me. So always remember that. Form follows function is an architecture term for building houses, things like that. But the truth is, form follows function, function follows purpose, purpose follows the breeder. as a breeder, you should always have a purpose in your breeding. What is the temperament you want? What is the build, structure, or form that you want? And what is the ability that you want? When you put those three things together, you start breeding for it, and it gives you purpose. And then function will follow, and then form will follow. It has no choice. Form and function are hand in hand. They should not be looked at separately. Your pug cannot do what your American bully can do. Your American bully cannot do what your greyhound can do. So always understand that. When it comes to function, one of the things about it, what is fully functional, which is also one of the topics, so we'll hit it now. Fully functional should never be based off of a breed. It should be based off of the species. The dog as a species, when at its best, at its most extreme, is the greyhound when it comes to running. It is the pit bull when it comes to fighting. It is the hound when it comes to scent. So we don't want to base fully functional based off of a breed. What fully functional has to be based off is the average of the species. The average dog, when it's running at full speed, has one point at which it is fully suspended from the ground, meaning that it's not touching the ground whatsoever. Greyhounds and some other breeds will have two, and those, so fully functional then, but that's extreme. So for a dog to be fully functional, it should be able to run, and when it's fully stretched out, it should not be touching the ground. When those front legs hit the ground, they should be there only to grab dirt and pull. Then the back and the rear legs cross, and then they come out again. So a fully functional dog will be fully extended from the ground when the front legs and back legs are both extended. And that is fully functional. We have a lot of American bullies now that are not fully functional. We have a lot of other breeds now that are not fully functional. At some point when they are running, at least 1 to 2 feet are touching the ground. That means they are not fully functional. These tend to be dogs that can't run as fast because they can't run with momentum. They have to run with power. And they get to the point where their front legs are no longer used as legs when they're running. They're used as stilts to prevent the chest and face from hitting the ground. I mean, crutches to prevent the chest and face from hitting the ground. So when you say form follows function, function follows purpose, purpose follows the breeder. How did we get here? So when you go over the history of dogs, and why would I say that the history of man and dog is what governs the breedings that we do today? Here's why I say that. At some point, man figured out how to use tools. And at some point in the process of tools such as spears, fire, rock shaped that would be greatly used to hammer in things. At some point with these tools and these spears and bowls and cups and all these things, we started eating and leaving scraps. And there was a wolf-like species, something like a wolf, something like a coyote, or the offspring of creature decided, there we go. This creature decided it could get things off of man. And typically it was scraps. And so it started in packs, hanging more around us. And we would come into situations where, it might scare something running towards us and we kill it, or we might scare something towards it and it kills it. But it's strictly opportunity. Eventually, after a few generations, a symbiotic relationship is formed where they realize we benefit them and we realize there's ways that they benefit us. And then they start kind of getting more into our villages. And we start becoming not a part of their pack, though. Eventually, there becomes a separation between these dogs in the pack. Man starts realizing every time we go hunting, these dogs from that pack, they follow us and they go with us and they start to help us hunt. These other dogs, which are more than likely females, tend to hang around, and young females tend to hang around the village. But whenever somebody comes close, other animals, lions, leopards, whatever it may be, come to the village, they start barking. They become an alarm system. So now from this symbiotic relationship, we're getting hunting and we're help with hunting and we're getting help with warning systems from these dogs that bark when these predators come near our villages. Then we start breeding. All right, I'm back. So at some point, we begin forming relationships with these dogs based off of what they do within their pack and related to our village. And we end up with two divisions: dogs that help us hunt, dogs that alarm us. As man becomes more advanced over time, hundreds of years, we end up breeding the dogs that are better hunters and more equipped for it with each other, the dogs that are better guardians and more equipped with each other. And now we've got hunting breeds and we've got guardian breeds, typically mastiffs and hounds or scent hounds. And this is how our relationship with these breeds came. This happened we know man has been breeding and selling trading dogs for over 25,000 years. They always had a purpose. Then we also had dogs that were, humans like to experiment. So we also had designer breeds that are old breeds, long fur tended to be the thing. Then the show ring came along. The show ring evolved from people bringing their dogs out for town fairs and things. I got hunting beagles. Who needs hunting beagles? I got Jack Russell Terriers. Who needs Jack Russells? I got fighting dogs. Who needs a fighting dog? I got a guardian dog. Who needs a guardian dog? And they're breeding these dogs that they're puppies from these dogs that they're willing to sell to people. And eventually, the people who had guardian dogs figured, you know what? Let's get away from here because they're all these hounds and these terriers. They're all in the way. Let's start having our own day where we just meet up. And then eventually we start keeping track of pedigrees on paper. Eventually the registry gets involved. Somebody decides, okay, about 200 years ago, somebody said, you know what? You guys, give me all your paperwork and I'll keep track of that in my little library here for you. I'll store it for you. And that way, when you need it, you can come to me and I'll give it to you. And it'll be printed nice and written nice for you and things like that. And eventually, these registries started also noticing they can make money from how people were gathering to show their dogs, what their dogs can do or what they look like for sale. And the dog show began. This was about 200 years ago. So when it comes to man and dog and today's breeding, there's one thing when it comes to these dogs, especially in the American bully. You're never, ever, ever, ever going to be able to take the purpose drive out of dogs. It will take another 20,000 years to do so. The reason maybe half that. So let's say another 10,000 years to do so. Because the show ring, designer breeding, all these things only became popular and established 200 years ago. That's a drop in the bucket of the existence of dogs. So for 20,000 years, this has been a purpose-driven companion species, which is why I hate when people say it's a companion breed. Old breed. My beagle that hunts, my Rottweiler that guards, this guy's dog that herds cattle, they're all our companions. So it's a purpose-driven companion species. Now, if your dog has no purpose, don't call it a companion. because they're all companions. Call it a companion with no purpose, or just say it. Admit it. There's nothing wrong with you saying your dog has no purpose. That's what you bred it for. That's what you bred it for. You made that choice. So when it comes to the species and people breeding today, we have to understand that when you take a mastiff that's been bred for hundreds of years to be a guardian, his intelligence and his health is based off of that. Mind follows body, body follows mind. Purpose-driven companion species. Form follows function, function follows purpose, purpose follows the breeder. So this dog has been bred for thousands of years to guard. His intelligence and his health is based off of that. This dog has been bred for thousands of years to run fast. Its intelligence and its health is based off of that. The pit bull, its intelligence and its health was based off of fighting. Its body, its form, its mind, cognition, everything was based off of fighting. When they created the Amstaff, all of a sudden they became more susceptible to diseases. When we created the show ring, then the pit bull was. When we created the show ring, another 400 diseases have now showed up in 200 years. That's 2 diseases a year, just because the purpose is being bred out. Why is that happening? The reason it's happening is because we spent 20,000 years creating a perfect thing, and then we decided we wanted to change it. So when you take that guardian breed and you cross it with that working breed, so let's use the American Bully for example. You take a guardian dog, you breed it to a working dog, and you say, I want to make American Bullies, and I don't want to give them a purpose. Matter of fact, I want to make sure they don't have a purpose. Well, the minute you cross those two, you still had an intelligent dog. It was just a matter of figuring out the purpose. When you start removing that, you only start breeding for looks and not temperament. And just because a dog don't bite a baby don't mean it has good temperament. That's not breeding for temperament. Just because your dogs have never attacked anybody doesn't mean you're breeding for temperament. Stop with that lie. That's something breeders try to sell you on. When they say they're breeding for temperament, like I said earlier, ask them what drives are they manipulating to breed for temperament. If they can't answer that, then they're full of shit. So when it comes to you've got these dogs and you're watering them down, you're lowering the temperament, you're lowering the drive. Admit it or not, you're creating dumb dogs. That's what you're doing. They're going to be less healthy. They're going to be dumb. The English Bulldog was a dumb dog. Nobody wants to admit that, so they call it stubborn. It's not stubborn. He don't have the ability to learn things that other dogs are capable of learning. Now, we as American Bully breeders want to breed the English Bulldog and the English Bulldog type traits into our breed. Why? You had a perfect thing going in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. But if we're going to do that, then we have to make sure that we're testing these dogs. Just like all pit bulls ain't dog aggressive, all bulldogs ain't dumb. So we need to make sure that we're testing and breeding the best out, bringing the best out of these dogs through our breedings. And so you have to understand temperament, the drives that make it up, because we're going against everything that these dogs were initially, that dogs as a species were initially created for. It's no different than saying, okay, dogs have 4 legs, but now I want to start breeding dogs that don't use their legs and just squirm on the ground. Well, guess what? They're going to start having foot, leg, shoulder issues. You're no longer using it. You're no longer feeding the basic kibbles that we used to feed our dogs. Now, and you're switching to all these other things. We're breeding allergy issues into the dogs, and we're covering it up by feeding raw and giving ointments and CBD oils and all these other things that we do to cover up allergy issues. And then we're continuing to breed these dogs knowing that they have allergy issues, or breed these dogs without testing them to see if they have allergy issues. When we got Cardi Bull, everybody knows I feed pedigree, I add to it. I know bullies have a lot of allergy issues. So what did I do? I stopped doing anything to her food for 6 months. She got nothing but pure pedigree, and she was fine. Guess what? She's great for breeding, because she's got a strong immune system. That means when things do happen, she can help fight them off like a normal dog is supposed to be able to. So when it comes to, the functionality, form, what is form? If it follows function and function follows purpose, actually let's go backwards, because that's the best way to look at it. You start with purpose. so that you can get function, and then you can get form. You start with purpose. You need to bring the right temperament, the right intelligence, the right abilities into here. You create a breed. Then you get a function. You need, if you, the function is the ability or the way that a dog or a thing does whatever it does. It's part of the process, and it's part of the end result of the process, which is when you start getting into purpose. So if you go purpose, function, then form. If you focus on purpose and function, form is going to come to it. Problem is, right now, the American bully community is extremely dominated by the rhetoric of the show ring, especially on Facebook. All they're focused on is confirmation. You can't say a dog has great temperament because the dog's a grand champion. Bullshit. That's not great temperament. He's supposed to be a dog. He's supposed to be a companion. My companion, if somebody jumps me and my dog don't jump in, that ain't a good companion. I don't care how many trophies he's won. What good are you as a companion? What good are you as a dog? If that's the case, we can just continue the show ring. When a dog dies, just get its stuff and wheel it into the show ring. If that's the case, so if we're truly going to breed living dogs for the best of the breed, like everybody likes to claim, then form follows function, function follows purpose, purpose follows the breeder. You as a breeder need to pick a purpose for your dogs. It can be as simple as, I want my American bullies to be protective of their family, protective of their pack. I don't want them to be dominated by other dogs, but I also want them to be able to get along with other dogs. When you start creating these ideas, I want them to be able to play fetch, and I want them to want to play fetch nonstop. I want them to be able to go to the dog park. I want them to be interested in the spring pole, the flirt pole. I want to quit before my dog quits. When you start creating these purposes, it doesn't have to be hunting, it doesn't have to be racing, it doesn't have to be dock diving, it doesn't have to be agility. But when you start creating these purposes and you breathe for that, the rest will fall into place. And that's the main thing that I wanted to get across in this, because function will follow the purpose. Form will follow the function. Now, a dog can perform and still have a high rear. A dog can perform and still have lack of angulation. A dog can perform and still have weak pasterns. A dog can perform and still not have the bully head. It can still perform. It can still have good form and not have great bone. It can still the bone that we want for the breed. So we know we have to have the breed type of the breed. What we have to be careful of is when people are talking about breed type and the written standard, they are two separate things. The written standard is made for the show ring. The breed type is what the breed is. There are Chihuahuas that do not fit the written standard. They are breed type. Breed type is based off, written standard is based off of breed type. Breed type is not based off the written standard. Some people say, well, this is a new breed. There's a lot of new breeders. So therefore, we have to have a written standard so that they know what to go by. They're not reading the written standard. They're looking at the dogs that you post on Facebook. So if you're the person that's talking about how we have to have the written standard, but you're sitting there winning championships with a dog that has high rear, then shut up. You don't make sense. Give us the breed type. And you won't need, people don't need a written standard to breed German Shepherds. They don't need a written standard to breed quality, great German Shepherds. They don't need it. The best dogs aren't in the show ring. The best show dogs are in the show ring. The best agility dogs are not in the show ring. The best agility dogs are in the agility trials. You get what I'm saying? So not everybody wants to do agility, shows, dock diving, weight pool, hunting. Some people just want a good dog that they know will be a good companion to their home, their wives, kids, husbands, and be a good guardian in their home, that they can take places with them because they like dogs, and they can take to Starbucks, hiking, camping, whatever it is. You as a breeder have to decide, is that what you want to breed for? What is it that you want to breed for? Ask yourself that question. What ability and what purpose do you want your dog to have? Ability doesn't mean it can jump 6-foot walls. No. is he willing to try to jump? Does he have the ability to try to jump 6-foot walls? Look at it that way. What's up, girl? If you look at it that way, you can't go wrong with your breedings. Okay. So we're going to end it on that note. Let me scroll through the comments. And then once I finish the comments, we will be out of here. And oh shit, it's a bunch of them. Don't you lick me in the face. Black is also parvo. We went through that. Yes. Come on, get down. Let's see. Dom, be careful, girl. Dom said, stay down. Made my male follow me on a dirt bike in the mountains. He was chasing me like I was gonna leave his ass there. Exactly. And that's great exercise. I heard somewhere blood can also be parvo. Yes. Eric said, problem with a trainer fixing an issue, be it aggression, bolting, etc. When the dog gets home, a lot of people don't have the discipline to know how to follow through with what the trainer did. That is true. Especially, I always tell people, I'm not a big fan of the my dog went to a trainer. I think that's great for protection. But there's also supposed to be a phase where the trainer works with you and the dog, and then the trainer is also able to get you to do those things and move back. When I'm not a big fan of obedience training. It's just so tedious to me, but I love behavior training. When I do obedience or behavior training, one of the things that I like to do is work with the person, show them what needs to be done. They do it, work with them on them getting it done. Then I step back. I'm gone for a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is. And they're working on those things. And we keep in contact and they let me know how things are going. I give them advice and then bam, we come to the next schedule. The next time we meet up, we either learn what I want to see them work on what I left them doing. And then we move on to the next thing, whatever that next thing is going to be. And then there needs to be a period, to me, what trainers lack is follow-up. So there should be a period at which you follow up with, you're charging this price, so follow up to make sure the work that you put in is sticking with this dog and this person for life. Because training is not so much about the dog as it is you as a trainer providing that the dog owner the tools to get what they want out of the dog that they happen to have. So I agree with that 100%. Especially with these trainers that, okay, I did my part, your dog sit and stays, did all this, blah, 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 and then they kick you to the curb and move on. And a lot of even today's training methods are based on getting clients in and out, especially get treats. Treats was always a tool. Now it's an actual tactic. Because it gets the dog to do what you want, and then bam, I can move on to the next one. Then the person calls you and says, hey, it's not working. Well, that's because you're not doing what I said. Well, if you were using some of the old school training methods with that, you would have got to where you wanted. So just watch that when it comes to trainers. Always make sure that there's some type of follow-up method. Ota said that's why I think training the owners is important. It's all about training the owner. Get to know the dog. As a trainer, you need to be getting to know the owner, getting to know the dog so that you can train the owner for the dog. Let's see. El Partido, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Let me see. How far are we? Okay, we're almost there. All right. James Galloway said, okay, he was talking to Eric Maxwell, said, fact, I get 1 out of 10 owners who actually follow directions once they leave me, and you can see it always, but they always try to lie. You know what? That's true. Some people just don't put in the work. They put in it when they see you leave, and then all of a sudden they don't. But there's a large amount of owners that aren't consistent. Matter of fact, now that you said that, I thought of another thing. You're working with the wife or the husband, but the other person is never there. And then you got the dog perfect, but this other person is not consistent. The whole family dynamic has to be consistent. So if you as a trainer only get to work with the wife and the husband, you got to, or wife or husband or the kid, whoever it may be, you got to explain them. What I'm teaching you, you have to teach to the rest of the household, and then everybody's got to stick with it. so that it's not confusion for the dog, because all it takes is one person to be doing something different than what you're doing, and now the dog is getting in trouble because it's confused, and you're paying that trainer more money because somebody in your house isn't sticking to what you said. But yeah, it goes both ways with trainers and owners. Put on 100 said, can't hear you on YouTube. Hopefully you guys can hear me now. You just went silent. All right, can you guys hear me now? Okay, looks like you guys, so that must have been a little, I think that was when it paused on me. Hotep said, that's what kills me with this low to the ground mentality breeders have with these dogs. Yeah, this went from a breed where they were trying to create a pit bull on steroids that was friendly. You could take anywhere, have a good time with, didn't have to worry about human or dog aggression. That opened the door to people who like dogs that are needy. So therefore the dogs are dumb, lazy. And now all of a sudden we are starting to breed in more and more bulldog traits into the breed, because now I don't have to chase it when it don't listen, and I don't have to train it because it don't even move. And when it goes around the yard, it just trots along slowly. So it doesn't dig up my yard. It doesn't try to jump at the fence. It doesn't bark at the neighbor's dog. And that's what we're slowly creating, unfortunately. I refuse to, though. Okay, I think that's when it paused on me, when it went silent. Let's see here. I got to have a dog with some legs that carry drive. I agree 100%. And I think they're going to change that with the XL. I do believe they're going to change. I don't know what this Vask thing is. I don't even remember if this is the same person. I don't think their name said Daryl before. I'm probably going to end up deleting you because I don't know what you're doing. Let's see here. Proper way to give my dog goat milk. Goat milk is very good for pups. It is the closest thing to dog milk. You can just give it to them. Now, I would add to it. I don't have my list with me, but I want to say, if you're talking about pups, that's the other thing. I need to know if you're talking about pups. If you're talking about young pups, if they're already eating solid food, you shouldn't need the goat's milk anymore. If you're talking about whelping a newborn litter, that first 4 to 5 weeks, I always add Cairo syrup, the clear Cairo syrup, so that way they get a little sugar. I also add egg yolk. What else do I add? Colostrum to help keep that immune system strong. And I want to say that's it. But if you add that to goat milk, you should be doing fine. Eric said every breed used to make the American Bully was a warrior in some form. Exactly. You can't put all those dogs in one and not expect warrior traits to come through that mixture. Exactly. And the way they get around it is they breed those dogs that are lesser. The dogs that are lesser intelligent, they just say that's a good temperament. And that's becoming the problem with the breed. You're also breeding out the immune system, intelligence. You're just messing it up. Whereas if you bred for specific drives and ability, just change the ability. You can mix all those breeds, just change the ability and the purpose, and you're good. Like Ty used to say, might as well have a statue. Exactly. I call them yard ornaments. What's the reason why American Bully breed have so many dreams / nightmares? Not sure what you mean by that, other than you see your dog responding to things in its sleep. And it's just, it is what it is. Some dogs will have they dream just like we do, just a bunch of random things taking place, and they happen to get into it. I don't know what I said. Let's see here. Who's that good looking boy? That was Cardi Bull. She's a female. Come up here, girl. She's a female. She's stubborn right now. She wants to eat. And last comment. So do you give pups puppy food at all? I do not. I do puppy food. Get down, girl. And be careful. You're gonna hurt yourself. You're just trying to be a retarded right now, huh? I give pups of terriers and small breeds. I'll give them puppy food. Large breeds, I give them dog food, regular adult dog food, and just turn it into Mush. You're getting real crazy right now. I'm gonna feed you in just a sec. But when it comes to your larger breeds, too much protein in the puppy food. So go ahead and no, you're down. No. So when it comes to the larger breeds, give them just regular large dog food as puppies. Puppy food a lot of times has way too much protein in it and can affect their joints. Um, let's see, girl, you done hit the buttons on the keyboard. Ace 900 said, I want the Belgian Malinois functionality in the American Bully body. Impossible, but a dope thing to keep as a concept in your breedings. Um, you're not going to get the exact same functionality, if you want the bully body. But if that's what you're looking for, it gives you a great balance to breed by. So it's a great goal. You just have to keep a balance of it and know when you're going to and when you're not going to deviate from whichever one. One of these lives, can you go over longer backs, over shorter backs on XLs? We can hit that right now. The objective of the breed is to make a compact dog. The problem with doing that is this breed was rushed together. So you can make a compact dog, but typically what you're doing is just shortening the loins of the dog. And therefore there are organs in there that you're also compacting. So you may have a short, compact dog who still, for whatever reasons, has internals of a mastiff. So it has to be, because we're not doing this slowly and we're not doing it for purpose, and we're doing C-sections, AIs. So when you start shortening the backs of the dog, what you are losing is agility, one. So you look at a hog or a pig, when they get hit by a dog, what do? They spin to try to get their touch because they can't bend like a dog can. They can't fold. So the more you shorten the back of the dog, you're going to be losing agility. With a breed that's riddled with so many flaws, shortening the back kind of helps get rid of high rear because it's not as long to develop it. But to me, I think it's something that has to be balanced. I don't really want a short back dog. I just want a square. When you look at the dog from the side, I want a square. No different than the pit bull and most breeds. Just give me a square. I don't want the dog to be. But if I had to have one, the overly short or back too compact, I wouldn't want that, because the dog loses agility and movement, and anything that is difficult causes whatever has that difficulty to do that thing less. If the dog is free spirited, free running, body flows, and everything's moving right, then guess what? That dog's going to be constantly running and doing things. As the dog is older, if its build makes things more difficult, if it hits 5 and 6, 7 years old, it makes things more difficult, then that dog is going to do less, and health starts to go downhill. But the American Bully is supposed to be a compact dog. I think if you focus on width and try to shorten that back, you just need to keep track of, what it is you're doing, and is the dog still balanced? What up, Mr. J? You got on here right while I'm about to get off. And that was it. So definitely make sure you like the live. You guys can continue commenting and talking in the comments. Other than that, we will be back next Tuesday. Make sure you check out Thor Bullies. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Let your friends know. Share it to your friends. Share it on Facebook, whatever you can. Also, make sure that you check us out, Thor Bullies on Instagram. Also on Facebook at Thor Bullies on Facebook, and also the Giant XL American Bully Breed Group, where we focus strictly on the XL and keep it educational rather than drama, although drama does arrive every now and then. Would you still want a square on a taller dog or a slight rectangle? I would want a square. If you look at King of Diamonds, he's about 26. I would want a square because it's an American Bully. So if you look at King of Diamonds, he's a square, but he's an American Bully. So he's got the leg length, Some of these dogs aren't square just because they keep shortening the legs. So I would still want a square. Most dogs can maintain a square regardless. You can even find Great Danes that if you look at them, you go from toe to shoulder to back hip, back down to the toe, they're square. And that's what I mean by square. So that's what you want. I would stick with the square because they're bullies. That's still enough ability. Most pit bulls are square, so that's still enough to provide agility that you need for movement. Now, if I got a dog that's starting to get extremely short, that's got short legs, I would probably want a little more length so that agility is there and that movement and back. Yeah, definitely. Cast the recap; it'll still be there. All right, y'all. I'm out. We went what? 3 hours and 20 minutes. All right, y'all. I'm out. Thanks for tuning in.